Chapter 4994. You're so powerful, don't tell me you don't know this. Xia Jiuyo sneered. The Hellfire Dragon sensed it for a while, then let out a crazy roar. How dare you plant a heaven-sealing seal on my soul? Damn it, he was going crazy. Xia Jiuyo ignored it and said to Lin Xian, I've already controlled him. Even if I'm not here, he won't be able to do anything. That's good. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Xia Jiuyo said, You said a black stone tablet was suppressing him. Let's go out and take a look. Xia Jiuyo's body shook and he wanted to go out. Damn old man, fight me for 300 rounds if you dare. Suddenly, the Hellfire Dragon roared and wanted to kill him. Xia Jiuyo frowned. He still had some tricks up his sleeve. Let's go. He instantly left the sword world. Lin Xian walked out too. After he went out, Xia Jiuyo waved his hand and tore the sky apart. He then grabbed half of the Hellfire Dragon sword. He threw it on the ground and stepped on it. The Hellfire Dragon sword was roaring. Damn it, take your foot away. How dare you step on me? Lin Xian was stunned. The sword could talk. Xia Jiuyo said that this was the dragon scale of the Hellfire Dragon. It contained his blood, soul and bloodline. It was like a part of his body. So if this thing ran away, it would be troublesome. Lin Xian's face changed. It was too troublesome to be with these old monsters. If he wasn't careful, he could fall into endless danger. Xia Jiuyo sealed the sword and gave it to Lin Xian. He said, You can use this sword. Lin Xian said, You don't have to worry about it running away. Xia Jiuyo said, I've already set up 3 seals and completely sealed it. As for its power, it's definitely weaker. But it matches your strength. As your strength increases, the 3 seals will be released one after another. By then, you can completely control it. Lin Xian smiled. Old Xia was so thoughtful. Lin Xian pointed at the stone in the distance and said, It's that stone tablet. Back then, I only managed to send him flying. Now, it seems like he didn't shatter at all. Xia Jiuyo also walked over, and Lin Xian hurriedly followed by his side. He couldn't withstand the surrounding flames at all. Fortunately, Xia Jiuyo was here. Xia Jiuyo looked at the stone tablet and took it with a wave of his hand. Lin Xian was shocked. There were no cracks at all. That sword strike just now was so terrifying, but it actually didn't cause any damage to the rock. Elder Xia, what kind of stone is this? That was too scary. Dragon suppressing stone. Xia Jiuyo's lips curled into a smile. What a good item. It was rare. With him, their chances of winning should be higher. Xia Jiuyo looked at the stone carefully. When he saw the word Qing engraved on the back of the stone tablet, he narrowed his eyes. A descendant of Emperor Qing. The descendant of the Qing Emperor. Lin Xian was shocked. Did this stone tablet belong to the descendant of the Qing Emperor? Could it be that the descendant of the Qing Emperor had defeated the Hellfire Dragon and sealed its remnant soul here? Alright, kid, don't think about this anymore. Go and do your thing. I'll bring you out, and then I'll leave for a while. You have to be careful. Then, Xia Jiuyo brought Lin Xian out of the depths of the Hellfire Dragon and soared into the sky. He placed Lin Xian in the 9 heavens. Then, he turned into a stream of light and disappeared. Lin Xian, on the other hand, descended. The scene here had already caused a commotion. Hence, countless people were watching from the surroundings of the canyon. At this moment, the canyon descended from the sky, and a figure naturally attracted their attention. Who was it? They looked over. Another expert had arrived. However, they realized that it wasn't him. It was a young man. Who was this young man? Many people were puzzled. However, some people exclaimed. It was that kid. He didn't die. Many people were shocked. Some of them had already recognized Lin Xian. Those who didn't know him soon found out. This was the genius who had made the Ghost Eyes clan suffer. Some of those who knew the inside story were even more shocked. Did this person come out alive? How terrifying was his strength? Or did he come out long ago and was just hiding? Many puzzled voices were heard. Some of the older generation's eyes were flickering. They all stared at Lin Xian. At this moment, a cold voice was heard. Kid, you're still alive. Tell me, what happened in the Hellfire Dragon? The voice was like an order. Everyone turned their heads to look. They saw a mighty man riding a war horse. His face was burning with black flames. Many people were shocked. It was Yin Tianfeng. Some people's eyes lit up. This kid had offended Yin Tianfeng before. Back then, Yin Tianfeng wanted to take action, but he didn't have the chance. Now, it seemed that he was going to take action. If that's the case, then this kid is dead for sure. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. You're ordering me. Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? Get lost. The others were shocked. This guy didn't want to live anymore. How dare he challenge the top genius Yin Tianfeng? Yin Tianfeng also walked down from his war horse. He shouted coldly. Do you want to die? How dare you disrespect me? Kneel down and kowtow. He took a step forward and his strength exploded. Lin Xian sneered. I really don't know what right you have to be so arrogant in front of me. Back in the Hellfire Dragon, I was a few hundred times stronger than you. What right do you have to be arrogant in front of me? The surrounding people were shocked. What? This guy must be crazy. However, some people said that it was true. Back then, Yin Tianfeng condensed 9 Hellfire Dragons, but this guy condensed 3,000. He completely surpassed Yin Tianfeng. Why is this guy so strong? Many of the older generation narrowed their eyes. Yin Tianfeng sneered. That wasn't your true strength. You just used a despicable method. You're no match for me in terms of true strength. He stretched out 3 fingers. As long as you can take 3 of my moves, I'll let you go. Lin Xian sneered. Do you want to die? I'll grant you your wish. I'll only use one hand. Arrogant enough. However, no one has ever dared to be arrogant in front of me. Yin Tianfeng was furious. His eyes shone with a terrifying light. There was a black flame on his body that kept jumping. Then, he slapped his palm over. The black palm covered the sky and covered the earth. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines. They retreated quickly. Too strong. Yin Tianfeng was very strong. This slap could even turn the great sage into a bloody mist. They all looked at Lin Xian. They didn't know if he could withstand it. Lin Xian sneered and sent out a palm strike as well. It was also a black palm. However, it wasn't a flame. It was a death aura. It was like a black sea of death. It swept across the sky and took away all life. Chapter 4995. Lin Xian's palm was fine, but on the other side, Yin Tianfeng's expression changed. He felt that he had already used up some of his vitality. After one move, you're going to suppress me like this. You've really disappointed me. Bring out all your strength. Lin Xian said emotionlessly. You've completely angered me. Yin Tianfeng's body emitted a biting cold storm. The surrounding black flames became even more terrifying as they swept through the 9 heavens. Just then, 2 voices came from afar. Assistants. It was Linglong Shui and Hanya. They said, Yin Tianfeng, don't go overboard. We're going to ask Mr. to go back. They had been paying attention to the situation here. Now that Lin Xian had come out alive, they were naturally happy. Mr. Lin, come with us. What? Do you think I don't exist? Yin Tianfeng shouted angrily. Then, he struck out with both palms. One palm hit Linglong Shui, while the other hit Hanya. He wanted to fight against 2 top geniuses alone. Damn it! How dare you underestimate us? Linglong Shui was furious too. 1 against 2. Was he looking down on them? Linglong Shui shouted angrily. She formed a seal with her palms. A red light appeared on her body, turning into a sea of blood. There was a figure inside who opened his eyes abruptly and dashed out. On the other side, Hanya shouted angrily. His soul flew out and turned into a soul sword, slashing down quickly. With a boom, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Countless cracks appeared in the sky, and the 2 of them were sent flying backward, coughing up large amounts of blood. Damn it! The 2 were furious. Linglong Shui shouted angrily. Blood Demon Scripture. Hanya also released his soul power. They were about to fight. However, Lin Xian stood out and said, You 2, let me do it. This battle belongs to me. 2 more punches, right? I'll let you know my strength. Lin Xian walked out with a cold expression. He didn't want to fight because the other party was too arrogant. They kept finding trouble with him. Since that was the case, he didn't mind showing off his strength. Previously, in Hell Canyon, his divine body had broken through. Now, his physique was equivalent to the Great Sage's middle stage. Even if Yin Tianfeng could kill 5 Great Sage in a row, he wouldn't be able to fight against a mid-stage Great Sage. Kid, show me what you've got. Otherwise, you won't have a chance. Yin Tianfeng sneered. Lin Xian nodded. As you wish, he took a step forward and instantly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the other party. What a fast speed! Yin Tianfeng was shocked. Then, Lin Xian threw a punch. There was no light on it, nor was there any law. There was only a fist. This was the power of the divine body. Yin Tianfeng was disdainful at first, but when the punch landed on his body, his expression changed. He didn't want to retreat. But it was too late. With a loud boom, thunder rumbled in the sky. A figure was sent flying and smashed into pieces. The dozens of mountains in the distance disappeared. What was going on? The surrounding people were stunned. Originally, they wanted to see Lin Xian make a fool of himself. But it wasn't like this. Lin Xian injured Yin Tianfeng with 1 blow. This power was too frightening. If it was Yin Tianfeng, he would have the power to kill the Great Sage. But now, he didn't seem to have the upper hand in Lin Xian's hands. What a fly! Lin Xian looked into the distance and shook his head. In the distance, the shattered mountains and countless rocks turned into powder. Yin Tianfeng walked out with a cold face. There were still cracks on his body, and fresh blood stained his body. He gritted his teeth and said, Damn kid, you actually hid your power. I won't let you go. He also charged over in a domineering manner. The black flame in his hand was extremely terrifying. It could melt everything. Lin Xian threw a second punch. This time, even though Yin Tianfeng gave it his all, his arm was still numb. It was as if the power in his body had been scattered. Damn it, how was this possible? This had already exceeded the power of the great sage. His opponent's cultivation was even lower than his. How could he be so powerful? Yin Tianfeng felt like he was going crazy. 3 moves had passed. Should he continue? Lin Xian smiled. Yin Tianfeng couldn't smile. Damn it, continue. He shouted angrily. Dark First Sword. With a wave of his arm, he unleashed a series of sword qi that swept through the surroundings. Lin Xian, on the other hand, laughed heartily. He unleashed a burst of sword qi with a single punch, shattering the entire sky. Yin Tianfeng retreated again. His arms were broken. Why? Still not convinced. Lin Xian threw out another punch. This time, the power was even stronger. It was like a real dragon attacking and piercing through Yin Tianfeng's body. A transparent hole appeared on Yin Tianfeng's body. He fell down and screamed in agony. No! Who are you? Who exactly are you? Yin Tianfeng felt like he was going to break down. When did such a terrifying genius come from the underworld? The others were dumbfounded too. Yin Tianfeng was the top genius of the underworld. He was actually beaten up. Lin Xian walked over and looked at Yin Tianfeng. He shook his head. You're too weak. You don't deserve to know my name. After that, he ignored Yin Tianfeng. He looked into the distance. Linglong Shui and Hanya flew over and invited Lin Xian. Lin Xian looked at Linglong Shui and said, "Thank you, Blood Fury Saint. But I've decided to choose Soul Sage. I hope you and Blood Fury Saint can understand." After that, Lin Xian and Hanya left. Linglong Shui sighed. It was expected that Yin Tianfeng didn't choose them. After all, Soul Sage thought highly of him. They didn't think highly of him and had already lost. However, Linglong Shui took a deep breath. She had to go back and tell her father about this. That Lin Xian was still above her expectations. As for how to treat Lin Xian, that wasn't her concern. It was all up to her father. What happened here spread out quickly. Countless people were in an uproar. They didn't expect Yin Tianfeng to lose. It was unbelievable. One had to know who Yin Tianfeng was. He was a top-notch expert. Now, he was severely injured. Who did it? Countless people were investigating. On the other side, Soul Sage laughed. Young Master Lin, I welcome your choice. You won't be disappointed. He also knew about what happened. He was delighted. It seemed that this young man's strength was above his expectations. Bring young Master Lin to rest. Lin Xian nodded and left with Hanya. Since he had decided to join Soul, he wouldn't leave for the time being. After all, he still needed to enter the 18 levels of hell. On the other side, Linglong Shui also went back and reported to Blood Fury Saint. The Blood Kill Saint narrowed his eyes. It seemed that he had made a mistake this time. Father, what should we do next? Linglong Shui knew that Blood Fury Saint had also missed out on some geniuses. However, those geniuses were all dealt with secretly. Should they make a move this time? Blood Fury Saint shook his head. No, I'll change my strategy this time. I misjudged this person twice. He's completely out of my expectations. So, don't be enemies with him. Even if he's not one of us, we can't be enemies. Understand? Chapter 4996. Linglong Shui was shocked. Was her father afraid of the other party? To be more precise, he was afraid of the other party's future. If the other party grew up in the future, he would be able to threaten a sage-level existence. That was too inconceivable. He nodded and said, "Yes, Father. I understand." Several days later, Lin Xian met the Soul Sage Lord again. The Soul Sage Lord brought him into the distance. Then, they took a teleportation array and left. When they appeared, Lin Xian discovered that he had arrived in another world. He was still in the Dark Star System. The Soul Sage Lord said, "This is my world. Furthermore, it is one of my worlds. This is where my subordinates cultivate." The so-called Soul was an organization of assassins from Hell. The assassins from Hell were divided into many organizations. There was the Killing Temple, Soul, Blood Slaughter Camp, and so on. They were all very famous. The Soul Sage Lord brought Lin Xian here. Clearly, he wanted to focus on nurturing him. Of course, he still had to have some methods. He said, "Young Master Lin, are you sure you want to join Soul? If you do, you will receive a soul imprint. You will take a secret pill. This is to ensure that Soul's secret will not be leaked. It's not just us. All the assassins from Hell must do this. Even in my mind, there's a soul restriction as well." After Lin Xian heard this, he was silent for a moment. He said, "What's the difference between having a soul restriction and not having one? Without a soul restriction, you will only be an ordinary martial artist. You will not receive our core training. But if you have a soul restriction, we will do our best to nurture you. You will obtain supreme movement techniques and supreme sure kill manuals." In truth, Lin Xian was the least afraid of soul imprints, poisons, curses, and the like. He had the Great Dragon Sword Soul. He could use the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul to destroy them. It was just that he had to assess whether these two cultivation methods were worth the effort he had put in. The Soul Sage Lord smiled mysteriously. From the looks of it, unless Lin Xian completely joined and had a soul imprint planted, he would not divulge any secrets. Lin Xian said, "All right, I am willing to join." Next, the Soul Sage Lord brought Lin Xian to an ancient hall. There was a divine statue there. That was an extremely terrifying figure, looking down on the world like an unparalleled god. When he saw the statue, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. It was terrifying. "This is..." The Soul Sage Lord became extremely respectful. This was the statue of Emperor Ming. After speaking, he bowed respectfully. "Lin, if you want to join us, then bow to the statue of Emperor Ming." Lin Xian walked over and bowed. In the next moment, he felt that the statue's eyes suddenly released a ball of light that turned into two mysterious runes. It flew into his glabella. Lin Xian felt that her soul had been imprinted. It seemed that as long as the other party was willing to give the order, his soul would be destroyed. This was not the first time he had experienced such a feeling. Previously, when he had just arrived, the people from the Heavenly Grotto had planted such a life and death imprint on him. Even he could do it himself. Therefore, Lin Xian did not resist. He took a deep breath. When the time came, he would use the Great Dragon Sword Soul to kill it without anyone knowing. At the side, the Soul Sage Lord was shocked. "You didn't faint. What a surprise." Lin Xian was stunned. Later on, he understood. It turned out that those people couldn't withstand the imprint and had fainted. They would need to rest for a few days to recover. Lin Xian stood there as though nothing had happened. However, the Soul Sage Lord did not suspect anything. This was the statue of the Emperor. It possessed supreme mystic skills. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, he would not be able to break through the mystic skills of the Emperor. "Lin, come over here." The Soul Sage Lord brought Lin Xian out of this ancient hall and to the other side. Then, he said, "Now, you can ask any questions you have." I will tell you everything I know. Lin Xian asked, Senior, what are the two supreme mystic skills you mentioned earlier? Were they created by Emperor Ming? Lin Xian had this thought. The Soul Sage Monarch spoke. The Underworld Emperor had indeed created a supreme ultimate technique as well as an extremely powerful assassination technique. However, not everyone was able to cultivate it. Ordinary assassins would cultivate the mystic skills created by the ancient sages. But you have enough talent. In addition to the soul that has been planted, it will not betray you. Therefore, you are qualified to learn the two supreme mystic skills of Emperor Ming. Shadowless Heaven's Net. Azura Sword Art. One was a supreme movement technique. The other was a supreme assassination technique. Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that he had learned the two mystic skills of the Emperor. The complete inheritance of the Emperor could not be given to him. However, it was enough. The mystic skills of the Emperor surpassed everything. Who would have thought that the underworld would go all out to let a top genius cultivate these two mystic skills? However, thinking about it, other than Lin Xian who had the confidence to destroy the seal planted by the Emperor's statue, no one else would be able to. Since that was the case, what was there to worry about? Lin Xian obtained the two mystic skills. He said, Sage Lord, I need a place to cultivate. This was natural. The Soul Sage Lord quickly prepared a very good mountain range for Lin Xian. There were all sorts of resources here. It was enough for Lin Xian to cultivate quietly. After Lin Xian entered, he sucked in a deep breath and set up an array. Then, he activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul with all his might. He also used the power of the Sword World. Lin Xian wanted to destroy the soul imprint in his mind. At this moment, the Hell Sword flew out and said in the air, Kid, you have a good idea. You want to gain something without risking anything. However, do you think the imprint of the Emperor is so easy to destroy? You are underestimating the Emperor. Lin Xian opened his eyes and snorted. He shut up. He slapped the Hellfire Dragon Sword away. The Fire Dragon Sword Soul gritted his teeth. Damn it. However, he did not attack Lin Xian. His life was in his opponent's hands. Therefore, at this moment, he could only sneer as he watched Lin Xian suffer. With the support of the Sword World's power, the Great Dragon Sword Soul transformed into an extremely terrifying attack power and began to attack the seals. It had to be said that the soul imprint was indeed very strong. Even if Lin Xian used all his strength, it still took him a month to completely destroy the soul imprint. One had to know that a month was not short. After all, the power of the Sword World was still very terrifying. Fortunately, the Great Dragon Sword Soul's power was unparalleled, and his soul imprint was not left behind by the real Great Emperor. It was just a statue of the Great Emperor. Now that he had nothing to worry about, Lin Xian finally began to cultivate these two ultimate techniques. Damn, it was dispelled so quickly. The Hellfire Dragon Sword could not believe it. Lin Xian looked at the other party and sneered. How could you know my trump card? Go play by the side. He sent the other party flying again with a slap. The Hellfire Dragon Sword Soul's roar directly created a hole in the ground. Out of sight, out of mind. And inside the Sword World, the remnant soul of the Hellfire Dragon was opening up those savage areas every day. Chapter 4997. Lin Xian began to cultivate Shadowless Heaven's Net, an extremely terrifying movement technique. Lin Xian had come into contact with Hell's assassins before, and had even fought many battles with them. The opponent's movement technique was indeed strange. It was only because he had the heavenly secret god eyes that he could detect in advance. The others would probably be killed without even knowing when the other party arrived. Not only Hell, but even the Heavenly Court had top assassins. Moreover, those hidden techniques were extremely terrifying. Lin Xian guessed that they were most likely the divine abilities of the great emperors. After cultivating Shadowless Heaven's net, it wasn't any weaker than spatial divine abilities. Even before Emperor Ming became a great emperor, he relied on this movement technique to compete with his enemies in the universe. One person against many people in the endless universe at the same time. As for the Azura sword art, it gathered killing intent into one. It was a sure kill sword. There weren't many sword techniques, only a total of 7 moves. However, each move was extremely decisive and could directly take the enemy's head. Moreover, after cultivating the Azura sword art, the killing intent that filled the sky was usually hidden like a normal person. However, once he attacked, the killing intent would be released in an instant, turning him into an Azura. It was truly terrifying. Lin Xian began to cultivate just like that. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Lin Xian didn't expect that he would stay in hell for so long, and even have to continue staying there. However, he didn't care at all now. The 2 great emperor divine abilities were the most terrifying divine abilities he had ever encountered. The difficulty of cultivating them was also far greater than before. It was even harder than the fearless lion seal. In the blink of an eye, another 3 years had passed. Lin Xian opened his eyes. It wasn't that he didn't want to cultivate anymore, but there was a piercing pain on his back. It was the infernal evil eye. Damn it, is it acting up? Lin Xian felt that the situation wasn't good. He had to go to the 18 levels of hell. In these 3 years, Lin Xian had also gained some benefits. He could already use the first move of the Azura sword art. As for Shadowless Heaven's net, he was only at the entry level. It couldn't be helped. The great emperor's divine ability was really too difficult to cultivate. This was the first time Lin Xian had improved so much in 3 years. It was already very terrifying. Especially the Azura sword skill, Lin Xian was able to use it once every 3 years. If word got out, it would shock everyone. From the looks of it, an emperor-level mystique was not something that could be completely comprehended in a short period of time. Lin Xian stood up and prepared to look for the Soul Sage Monarch. However, when Lin Xian went out, he realized that something was wrong. The atmosphere of the entire world seemed to be tense. What happened? Lin Xian didn't find the Soul Sage Monarch, only Soul Cliff. Lin Xian asked what had happened. Hanya said that someone had broken the rules of the underworld and was running for his life. Therefore, my father is already gathering people and preparing to capture him. Did he escape to hell? Lin Xian was astonished. Was it the 18th level of hell? Hanya nodded. Lin Xian said, "Take me to see your father. I want to help." If it were anyone else, Hanya would definitely refuse. However, Lin Xian was different. Although Lin Xian was young, Hanya had seen his strength before. It was very terrifying. Therefore, he was completely qualified to go. Hanya brought Lin Xian and flew quickly. Finally, they landed in a palace in the distance. There were many people inside. When they saw Lin Xian, the Soul Sage Monarch was also surprised. "Lin, you're out. How was your cultivation?" Then, he said, "I almost forgot. I should have given you some ancient sage cultivation inheritances first. After all, those 2 mystiques were too difficult." Hearing this, the others were also shocked. Could it be that this kid was cultivating them? They looked at Lin Xian with reddened eyes. They were envious. Lin Xian said, "It's fine. I'll only cultivate these 2 mystiques." Indeed, if you give him anything else, Lin Xian might not necessarily cultivate them. Because he felt that it was a waste of time. Oh, if he's not here to exchange for mystiques, then what is he here for? The Soul Sage Monarch was surprised. He thought that Lin Xian felt that the Emperor mystiques were too difficult and wanted to learn ancient sage mystiques first. But now, it seemed that was not the case. Lin Xian said, I heard from Hunya that something happened, so I want to help. Really? Okay. The Soul Sage Monarch nodded. Then, he waved his hand and gave Lin Xian a scroll. He wanted to let him understand the situation first. The Soul Sage Monarch continued to issue missions. Soon, he found 100 experts and prepared to set off for the first level of hell. The 99 people were ready to go. As for the Soul Sage, he looked at Lin Xian. He said, Lin, be careful. The 18th level of hell was very dangerous. Although it was only the first level, it was far more dangerous than anything else. Therefore, you must act according to your strength. Lin Xian said with a smile, Don't worry, Sage Monarch. I'm just curious and want to see the 18th level of hell. If that's the case, I won't be worried. The Soul Sage Monarch also smiled. Next, Lin Xian and the 99 Soul Sage Monarch formed a team and prepared to set off. At the same time, they learned that they were not the only ones. The Slaughter Temple and the Blood Fiend Camp had all sent out teams. Whoever could capture the enemy would be rewarded. Their reputation, status, and resources would be greatly improved. Therefore, this was a hunt and also a competition, especially for the Soul Sage Monarch and the Blood Fiend Camp. The 18th level of hell was not located in any world. It seemed to be a world of its own with only an entrance. After entering, it would be an incomparably vast hell. The Soul Sage Monarch was right. This place was too dangerous and too terrifying. Ordinary sage monarchs would not dare to come here. In fact, if one wanted to enter the 18th level of hell, one had to be at least at the level of the Great Sage. This time, there were 5 enemies, all of them Great Sage, especially the last 2. They had reached the middle stage of the Great Sage and were very terrifying. They might even have mysterious sacred artifacts in their hands. They could not be underestimated. Therefore, the Soul Sage Monarch sent 100 Soul Sages. Firstly, hell was very large and needed to be searched. Secondly, even if they really met, they could work together. Yu, a member of the Soul Sage Monarch, was a woman who looked to be in her 30s. In fact, she had lived for 3,000 years. She wore a veil and looked at Lin Xian with a smile. Lin, this is just a tour, right? You don't have to do anything. After all, you are a genius that the Sage Monarch thinks highly of. Nothing can happen to you. Lin Xian smiled bitterly and did not explain much. Anyway, it was fine as long as he could enter hell. Next, he could look for things related to Xidigarba. You led a group of people and set off. They left the world and came to the vast starry sky. In the boundless universe, they flew quickly in a chariot. Finally, they came to a space that was incomparably dark. However, the sound of chains could be heard in the darkness. You and the others grabbed the chains and swung them hard, making cracking sounds. Lin Xian saw something that looked like a lid being slowly opened. A fiery red light appeared from inside, and an extremely terrifying aura seemed to make people fall into a 10,000-year-old ice cave. An entrance appeared. This was the entrance to the 18 levels of hell. You and the others said, Go in. The group of people turned into lightning and entered instantly. After entering, Lin Xian felt an extremely terrifying aura. Was this the 18 levels of hell? It was too terrifying. He felt his body tremble. It seemed that he had to at least have the physique of the Great Sage. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to enter here. It was only because he had a divine body that he could enter with the cultivation of a sage monarch. However, he was still shocked. Just the first level of the 18 levels of hell was so terrifying. He wondered how terrifying the 18 levels of hell were. End of chapter. Chapter 4998. The first layer of purgatory was extremely vast and boundless. There were all kinds of monsters, skeletons, and bones. They were all creatures of the darkness attribute. Even the sea demons were of the darkness attribute. As Lin Xian and the others were flying, a rotting sea demon flew past them. When it flapped its wings, the poison dripping down could pierce through everything. Fortunately, they had all cultivated top-notch movement techniques. Lin Xian used the shadowless heavens net, instantly vanishing and reappearing on the other side. What an exquisite movement technique! The others were startled. Even Yu was impressed. You've only joined for 3 years, right? What kind of movement technique are you cultivating? Lin Xian chuckled. He was just blindly practicing. If these people knew that he had cultivated the shadowless heavens net to this level in just 3 years, what would they think? As they flew, they dodged the dangers of purgatory. After flying for a few days, Yu said, the Bloodkill Hall's people have definitely entered, so we have to hurry. How about this? We'll split into 5 groups of 20 and scout from different directions. As soon as we discover anything, we'll contact each other. 3 days later. Yu, Lin Xian and the others stopped in their tracks and stared ahead with furrowed brows. Ahead of them was the scene of a huge battle. The blood-red ground was filled with all kinds of terrifying law auras. Yu frowned. What a terrifying killing aura. It seemed the Bloodkill camp's people had attacked. However, they should have failed. He sighed. This time, the target's power is even more terrifying than we imagined. We can't relax. Behind him, the Soul's people all nodded. Even Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. A battle between experts. That was a bit interesting. At the same time, in the first layer of purgatory, there were 2 figures standing on top of a mountain. One was a man, and the other was a woman. There was a sword mark on her forehead that looked like a blood sword. It was extremely mysterious. She looked into the distance and sneered. The Bloodkill camp and the Soul's people have both come. There's also the Killing Hall. However, it won't be so easy for them to kill me. Luosha, our people have already started fighting with them. The man at the side said in a low voice. This man's face was pale. He was wearing a black robe and looked extremely demonic. The 2 of them were the targets that Lin Xian and the others were looking for. However, other than these 2, there were 3 other targets. It seemed that these people were not together. All of a sudden, the bell on his waist rang. He said. The black disc had sent him a message, and it seemed like the 2 of them were about to make a move. The mysterious woman narrowed her eyes. Fine, then let them attack. Leave no one alive. The bewitching man nodded with a smile and began to transmit his voice. At the same time, in another mountain stream, there were also 2 figures. One of them was fat while the other was thin. It was skinny and its skin was black. It was called Black Butterfly. That fatty was called Trapped Dragon. There were many arrays flashing around the 2 of them. It seemed like they were preparing for something. The black disc said coldly. Soul had given them a big gift this time. Beside the trapped dragon were 4 pillars. The pillars had hideous human faces on them as they let out miserable roars. If there were other people here, they would definitely notice it. Because these hideous human faces were none other than the experts of the Blood Evil camp. They had all been killed and sealed inside the pillar. Trapped Dragon said. With these 4 pillars, the assassins of Solus would definitely die. As he spoke, his huge body rose into the air. Although he was fat, he was a top-notch expert. His body was extremely agile as he brought the 4 pillars to the 9 heavens. Then, he struck the pillars into the 4 corners of the ground. Soon, the pillars sank into the ground and disappeared. A mysterious area was formed. "All right, we are ready. Let's go and meet those people." The 2 of them rose into the air and flew into the distance. On the other side, Moon, Lin Xian and the others were on their way again. Suddenly, they stopped. Moon said, "Be careful. This place seems unusual." They felt that the aura around them changed instantly. It became eerie and terrifying. It made their hair stand on end. Moon turned to look at Lin Xian and said, "Stay here and don't move. We will go and take a look." Lin Xian wanted to say something, but he realized that those people had already walked into the distance. "Forget it." He sighed and looked around. Suddenly, he frowned. His eyes shone brightly. "What is this?" He was too shocked. He saw an unbelievable scene. "Is it a barrier?" Fog gradually appeared around them. It seemed to be able to block even the souls. The figures of you and the others had completely disappeared. However, 2 figures were laughing coldly in the misty land. "Humph, they are dead this time. I will make them wish they were dead." Trapped Dragon snorted. "Wait, there is still one person who hasn't moved. And where he is standing. Damn it, why is he standing there? We have to get rid of him. Otherwise, he will destroy our dragon trapping array. That will be bad." Black Disc said, "I will go. Maybe he is too scared to come. Besides, I can kill a person in a second. Fatty, you have to control the array well and play with these people." Trapped Dragon said, "Don't worry, leave it to me." The 2 of them split up. Not long after, an extremely terrifying aura came from Moon and the others. Immediately after, the assassins around him let out miserable cries. 2 of the killers were strangled by a mysterious force and turned into a bloody mist. The others were facing a great enemy. Moon roared, "Who is it? Get out here." The surroundings were silent. There was a sneer, but no one was there. At this time, the ground around them cracked. Many white bones crawled out from it and rushed toward Moon and the others. Counterattack. Moon let out a roar. Soul's murderous aura was also unleashed. No one who could come here was weak. However, the enemies were even more mysterious and strange. Moreover, this dragon trapping array had extremely strong suppression, sealing, and even illusory effects. These killers were destined to be miserable after coming in. Not long after, screams were heard. Another powerful killer saint died. The others were also frightened. Lin Xian had been standing there. Suddenly, he heard screams in front of him. There was even blood. He frowned. Were they attacked? His eyes shone with golden light. He wanted to save them. However, at this time, a cold wind blew behind him. Lin Xian abruptly turned around and discovered a figure standing behind him. It was pitch black and abnormally strange. There was a black butterfly in the other party's hand that kept dancing. "Die, young man." Black Butterfly sneered. The black butterfly in his hand flew over. It carried a strange poison and pounced on Lin Xian. The pollen of these butterflies would instantly turn a Saint King into a pool of blood. Lin Xian frowned. With a wave of his hand, a ball of flame flew out and directly enveloped the black butterfly. The poisonous powder in the sky instantly burned. The butterfly was also burned by the flames and let out a miserable cry. Damn it, how dare you! Black Butterfly roared. He did not expect the other party to have such a terrifying flame. Come back. With a roar, he waved his hand. The black butterfly flew back from the flames. At this moment, it was already on the verge of death. Damn brat, how dare you hurt my butterfly? You're dead meat. Black Butterfly gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with terrifying killing intent. I've decided not to kill you. I'll torture you to death. I'll let you live a life worse than death for 3,000 years. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. That means you're my target this time. Kneel on the ground obediently and surrender. Hearing this, Black Butterfly was stunned. What did you say? You want me to surrender? He looked up to the sky and laughed. Brat, you must be new. You don't know how terrifying I am. Assassin Temple, how many experts have died at my hands? You're just a young man. Chapter 4999. Lin Xian smiled as well. Was this another idiot who only knew how to judge one's strength based on one's cultivation level? Looks like you're worse than I thought. To be honest, I'm not interested in dealing with you. Then let's end this quickly. Lin Xian waved his hand and said, show me what you've got. You won't have a chance when I make my move. What an arrogant brat. Looks like you really want to die. Then I'll send you to hell. Black Butterfly was cold. Countless black demonic runes appeared on his body. A black demonic sword also appeared in his hand. The corners of his mouth curled up, and his expression was ferocious. Kill! With a roar, he instantly charged over. With a slap of his palm, poison filled the sky. The entire void shattered, unable to withstand this terrifying aura. Go to hell. This slap directly enveloped Lin Xian. Ha ha ha, you're too slow. You can't even dodge my slap. I'll see how you die this time. Black Butterfly retracted his hand and sneered. However, a dragon's roar came from the shattered void in front of him. You're really stupid. You want to break through my defense with this little bit of poison. Ridiculous. A beam of golden light streaked past, tearing the entire world apart. Lin Xian walked out, not a single wound on his body. Is this all you've got? Looks like you've really disappointed me. Forget it, let's end this quickly. Lin Xian took out a sword burning with hellfire. Kill him. Lin Xian said indifferently. The sword cursed. Damn, who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? The hellfire sword roared crazily as soon as it appeared. In the end, Lin Xian slapped it to the ground. You're not convinced. Today, I'll let you know what it means to submit. He grabbed the sword, and the power of the great dragon sword spirit surged into it. An extremely terrifying aura destroyed everything. The hellfire tornado roared crazily. It hurts. Stop it. I'll listen to you, okay? Then, it shone brightly. However, the hellfire turned into the shadow of a dragon and stared ahead. Damn it. You're the enemy. Go to hell. With a roar, he charged forward, turning into an extremely terrifying sword shadow as he charged forward. Black Butterfly was originally disdainful. However, his expression suddenly turned into fear. This was because he realized that this sword strike was truly too terrifying. Not good. Run. He wanted to retreat. With a single slash, his body was torn into two halves. The pain caused him to scream in agony. Boz. Damn it. I was too careless. I thought this kid was the weakest among the assassins. Who would have thought that it would be so strange? Especially the sword in his hand. He Dai did not plan to fight anymore. He was ready to meet up with Kunlong. Then, they would join forces to deal with this brat. His shattered body turned into countless black butterflies that fluttered in all directions. There were millions of butterflies, and no one would know which one was the real him. Brat, just you wait. I won't let you off. A cold voice rang out between heaven and earth. Millions of butterflies flew in all directions. With so many butterflies. Kid, it's not that I don't want to help you. Hellfire Dragon Sword said quickly. The power of the great dragon sword spirit terrified him. Hence, he didn't dare to be too arrogant. Lin Xian squinted his eyes. Golden light flashed in his eyes. Then, he smirked. You dare to use such petty tricks in front of me? He waved his hand and grabbed one of the butterflies. Then, he enveloped it. The butterfly screamed in fear. No! Damn it! Why? How did you know about my real body? He was going crazy. Was he just lucky? But this was too heaven-defying. There were so many butterflies. He didn't hesitate to kill him. Obviously, it wasn't luck. He had a trump card that he didn't know about. He wanted to resist, but it was too late. The sword aura in Lin Xian's hand pierced right through him, cutting his soul open. Search. Lin Xian's Tianji God eyes started to search his soul. Soon, the black butterfly was crushed by him and turned into a bloody mist. The phantoms of butterflies that filled the sky also disappeared. The whole world quieted down again. Lin Xian was overjoyed. He didn't expect to find out about Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. These people were being hunted because they stole a portrait of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. This portrait was said to be very precious. It was drawn by Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva himself. However, it was stolen by these people. Now, it was in the hands of the leader of these 5 people. As for the leader's name, he naturally got it from her soul. Rakshasa, a very scary woman. No matter how scary you are, since you have something of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, I won't let you go. Intense light burst from Lin Xian's eyes. His body then flashed and he charged forward. His soul knew that this black disc had a companion called the Sleeping Dragon. He was using the dragon trapping formation. It was an extremely scary formation. After it was sealed, the great sage would definitely die. In front, the soul-slaying saints were in despair. 19 of them went together. Now, only 7 of them were left. Yu's face became extremely pale. Damn it! Who was he? He was really in despair. The strength of these people was terrifying. However, until now, they couldn't even find the shadow of the other party. Could it be that they were going to be completely wiped out? At this moment of despair, a pitch-black figure descended from the sky. Was it an enemy? They roared. Countless terrifying auras came. However, they were destroyed by a sword. The Hell Flame sword released a terrifying aura. Who are you? Yu asked coldly. According to the intelligence, there was no such enemy. This figure was Lin Xian. However, he couldn't meet these people with his real face. After all, he still had to look for the portrait of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Therefore, he changed his face and aura. At this moment, he said, "You don't need to know who I am. You only need to know that you are in danger. This is the battle of the sleeping dragon. There are 4 dragon-binding pillars below. If you don't break these pillars, you won't be able to leave. I'll tell you the location of the 4 pillars." As he said that, he waved his hand and turned into countless demonic dragons, roaring in all directions. The 4 demonic dragons flew in 4 directions and then circled in the sky. Although the dragon-binding pillars were mysterious, Lin Xian had already locked onto their location with his heavenly secret god eyes. At this moment, he gave it to you and the others. How do I know if this is a trap? Yu gritted his teeth and said. Lin Xian said, do I need a trap if I want to attack? He slashed out with his sword. The terrifying sword chi made you and the others' faces turn extremely ugly. It was too terrifying. This person really didn't need to play any tricks. Alright, you guys can act on your own now. Lin Xian was about to leave. Yuan, who are you? Why are you helping me? Leave your name. However, Lin Xian didn't answer at all. At this moment, a resentful voice sounded in the void. How dare you break my dragon binding array? Do you want to die? He shot out a finger and slapped over. The sleeping dragon was furious. He didn't expect his dragon binding pillar to be discovered. Chapter 5000. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian disappeared in an instant. When he reappeared, he had already dodged. Moon exclaimed. Shadowless heaven's net. He was too shocked. That was the top movement technique of the Assassin Palace. How did he know it? Could it be that he was one of them? However, he had never heard of such a mysterious person in the Assassin Palace. After Lin Xian dodged, he shouted coldly. I didn't want to attack you, but you don't know what's good for you. Do you really think that I can't find where you are? As he spoke, Lin Xian held the Hellfire Dragon sword in his hand and stabbed it out. Azura sword skill, first sword. Buzz. Lin Xian's body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in another place in the void. He slashed out. It was a sure kill move. When he performed it, it was extremely powerful. At that place, a fat figure appeared. He looked terrified. Damn it, his body was constantly transforming, becoming a giant that could support the heavens and the earth. He clenched his hand into a fist and punched out. There was a terrifying seal on it that could seal a dragon. At that moment, it was used to seal the sword. Countless seals formed between heaven and earth and directly shrouded Lin Xian. The corner of trapped dragon's mouth curled up into a smile. However, in an instant, his smile disappeared. The sword directly tore the seal and cut him in half. Ah! He screamed crazily. His entire soul was split open. Moreover, the wound could not be healed. Lin Xian soared into the air and didn't stop there. Instead, he struck out with a backhand palm. Instead, he slapped trapped dragon's broken body onto the ground. Attack! Moon shouted angrily and took the lead to attack. At the same time, he ordered 4 people to destroy the 4 dragon-binding pillars. Soon, these people began to divide the work. Trapped dragon was killed not long after. One was taken care of. Moon heaved a sigh of relief. Although his face was bloody and his body was injured, his eyes were extremely bright. He had taken care of one of the 5 people. Although they had suffered heavy losses. Master, who was that mysterious person just now? Someone else asked. Yu shook his head and walked back. Moon and the others returned to their original location, only to discover that Lin Xian had long since disappeared. His expression changed. He couldn't have been assassinated, right? He knew that the young man was a genius that the Soul Sage Monarch thought highly of. If he died, he wouldn't be able to explain himself. Another assassin said that maybe he was timid and ran away. There were also some who said that only 7 out of the 19 of us were left, and that our losses were even more disastrous. Perhaps the sage will forgive us. And the moon said, "All right, let's go." They thought that Lin Xian was either dead or had escaped, so they couldn't find him. Furthermore, the first layer of hell was incomparably vast. They could only hope that Lin Xian's luck would be good. Lin Xian wasn't dead. He had left. Right now, he wanted to be in front of Soul, Sand's Sacred Hall, and Blood Fiend Camp. Find Rakshasa in advance and obtain the painting scroll in his hands. He had a bell in his hand, which he had obtained from Black Butterfly. In his opinion, this should be a voice transmission bell. Relying on this, he found an aura and flew towards that place. On a mountain peak among the mountains, the demonic man frowned. He said that Trapped Dragon and Black Butterfly were dead. His voice was filled with disbelief. Who could kill these two people so easily? Rakshasa frowned. It seemed that another powerful expert had entered. Leave this place immediately. I guess they should be heading towards this place. As he spoke, countless clouds gathered under his feet, and he instantly flew into the distance. A day later, a demon-like figure descended on the mountain peak. He looked around with a piercingly cold gaze. His brows furrowed. Had he left? This figure was naturally Lin Xian. He had followed the aura of the bell all the way here. He didn't expect that the other party would still leave. Shaking his head, Lin Xian was also prepared to leave. But just as he turned around, the entire mountain peak suddenly split open. An extremely terrifying array formation appeared around him, forming an intense killing aura. A killing array slashed towards him. A mere killing array dares to compete with me. Lin Xian waved the Hellfire Dragon sword and directly split the array formation apart. But at this moment, a rotting giant hand covered him. This palm was too terrifying. Even with Lin Xian's strong physique, he was still affected. He spat out blood and flew backwards, his face filled with shock. The Hellfire Dragon in his hand roared. Damn, how could the first level have such a terrifying palm? No, kid, leave quickly. The Hellfire Dragon had been suppressed in hell for many years, so it knew a lot. At this moment, her expression became extremely anxious. Lin Xian used all his strength to activate the Great Dragon Sword Soul, tearing apart heaven and earth. After escaping, the mountain peak was completely destroyed. He discovered that the entire mountain range had completely sunk into oblivion. That rotting hand had smashed everything into chaos. What was that? Lin Xian frowned. The Hellfire Dragon Sword said, "It's a terrifying thing sealed in the 18 levels of hell. But it should be at least below the 5th level. How could it appear in the 1st level? Kid, do you have something on you? You lured this thing out." Lin Xian frowned. Could it be the Hellfire Evil Eye behind him? But it shouldn't be. The Hellfire Evil Eye was also sealed, so he shook his head. The Hellfire Dragon Sword said, "That's strange. There's only one other possibility. The person who set up the array had something terrifying on him that lured this palm over. The person who set up the array formation. Could it be that Rakshasa?" Lin Xian frowned. It seemed like this person was more terrifying than he imagined. He must have a powerful trump card. But you can't run away. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a terrifying light. His figure flashed again and he chased after him. He went to chase after Rakshasa, and the 3 groups of assassins came in. Not only did they want to chase after Rakshasa, they also wanted to chase after the other targets. During this period, Soul and the Blood Evil Camp even fought a battle because of the targets. Both sides suffered injuries and separated in the end. The assassins gathered here. Moon frowned and said, "We've already killed one target. And from the looks of it, we've also gotten another target. As for the Blood Slaughter Camp, we haven't gotten one yet." That's why they're so anxious and don't hesitate to clash with us. If we get one more, we'll definitely win this time. Soul's assassins attacked again. The strange-looking man beside the Rakshasa frowned heavily. Another person had fallen. Damn it, there's only the two of us left. What should we do? He looked at Rakshasa. Rakshasa said and attacked. The two of them didn't hide, but took the initiative to attack. Soon, they met a team. A team of 20 people from the Blood Evil camp. The Blood Evil camp was so excited that they were about to cry. They finally found their target. And there were two of them. Humph, you two should obediently submit and follow us. Chapter 5001. This time, the leader of the Blood Evil camp was called Blood Demon. At this moment, Blood Demon's eyes shone with a cold light. If they could take down these two people, they could complete their mission. The devilish man sneered, not knowing the difference between life and death. He flashed and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Blood Demon and the others. Blood Demon roared and attacked. As he spoke, he slashed out with his sword. The Saint Slayers behind him also launched their attacks. They used all kinds of killing moves to surround the demonic man and Luo Sha. The demonic man was like a flickering shadow. His figure was also extremely strange. Furthermore, his hands were pale and lifeless. He abruptly turned his head and grabbed at the air. He grabbed one of the assassins and broke his neck. He then started to suck the assassin's blood. This strange scene made everyone's scalp go numb. As for Luo Sha, she was surrounded by 10 people and was not afraid. She smiled and formed a seal with her palms. A ball of green flame was shot out. It charged into the void. Suddenly, 3 assassins screamed and their bodies turned into ashes. The other 7 people were also frightened and quickly retreated. Luo Sha and the demonic man attacked. The two of them easily crippled the team of 20 people. In the end, only 5 people were left. These 5 people were frightened and quickly retreated. Run! They ran frantically. Luo Sha sneered and chased after them. The demonic man said, "Let's just kill them." Luo Sha shook her head. "No, let them meet up. We will kill them all." "Good idea." The demonic man smiled. Therefore, the two of them did not chase fast. Instead, they seemed to be pressuring the other party. They were just letting the other party meet up. The people in front were running very fast. Finally, they saw the team. "Save us." However, they were not Shui Sha Ying's people. They were people from the Slaughter Temple. There were a lot of them. There were 50 of them. "Save us." Blood Demon did not care about anything else. He could only think about it if he could escape. The people from the Slaughter Temple frowned at first. Then, they laughed when they saw Luo Sha and Luo Sha. "Ha ha ha ha, I finally found you." A handsome man rode out on a war horse. He looked at Blood Demon and the others and said, "Don't worry. With us here, your lives will not be in danger." Then, the man on the war horse looked to the front. "2 people. Are you two going to kneel down or do you want us to do it?" This man was none other than Yin Tianfeng. He was a member of the Sand Sacred Hall. At this moment, he was also one of the leaders, leading the people from Sand Sacred Hall in. "Are they here to die again?" The demonic man sneered. "You people are not enough to kill." Yin Tianfeng was enraged. "Stupid thing, do you dare to contend against me?" Previously, he had been challenged by Lin Xian time and time again, causing him to lose face. Now that he had 50 top-notch assassins with him, how could he not be able to deal with 2 people? With a wave of his hand, he tore them into 1,000 pieces. 50 sand. Enchanting, who was sitting on his warhorse, smiled. In his opinion, this battle was definitely one-sided. No matter how strong the other party was, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. Blood Devil and the others also heaved a sigh of relief. This was great. This battle was over, and their lives were saved. But what shocked him was that Enchanting was really despicable. He needed 50 experts to deal with 2 people. He did not hold back at all. Facing the 50 people, the demonic man's eyes shone with a terrifying light. Luo Sha stopped him. Then, he walked out. The demonic man was stunned. Then, fear appeared in his eyes. Was he going to use that thing? Luo Sha was not afraid of the 50 assassins. Instead, the blood sword on his forehead shone with a demonic light. Then, a black shadow floated out. It was a piece of cloth. It was very old and there were many holes on it. There was also a strange aura. It was as if it was a corpse. As soon as this piece of cloth appeared, it expanded in the wind and enveloped the 50 people in it. The 50 slaughter saints sneered. How could such an ugly piece of trash be a saint artifact? Kill! 50 slaughter swords pierced through the sky. But this time, they were terrified. The cloth was not damaged at all. Instead, it was closing up quickly. In the end, it covered them completely. No! In the next moment, they screamed in fear. They realized that there was a terrifying aura on the cloth, causing their bodies to rot quickly. Then, they turned into blood water and fell from the sky. The 50 screams disappeared one after another. Blood Demon and the others were shocked. Enchanting's face changed. He quickly rushed out. He gave the order, but no one came out. He was so scared that he fell off the counselor's horse. What was going on? 50 top assassins died in an instant? What a joke. What kind of weapon was that? He was terrified for the first time. Run! Blood Demon and the other 4 quickly ran far away. Enchanting also turned around and ran. The war horse's flame burned and turned into a bolt of lightning. There was nowhere to run. Luo Sha took the cloth and dashed far away. Blood Demon roared and a sea of blood filled the sky. His body shone with a terrifying light, forming an endless sea that swept across the sky. But it was useless. Under the cloth, the sea of blood quickly evaporated. Blood Demon and the others were covered. They screamed in pain and turned into blood water, scattering in the sky. Enchanting's warhorse was also torn into pieces. Enchanting spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was full of fear. He took out a tortoise shell and covered his body. The tortoise shell shone brightly and tore open the ground. He fled underground. Ants! Luo Sha was disdainful and wanted to attack again. But at this moment, she suddenly turned around and a cold light appeared in her eyes. The bewitching man was also stunned as he turned his head around. In the next moment, he saw a demonic aura in the distance. A figure charged over. He appeared in front of them. Lin Xian looked at the 2 figures below and the sea of blood around them. He frowned. He said coldly, "I finally found you." Then, Lin Xian stared at the woman below. "You are Luo Sha." The demonic man felt as if he was facing a great enemy. He shouted coldly, "Who are you?" Luo Sha said, "You can actually escape from the array I set up. You are quite capable. That array was indeed set up by you." Lin Xian's eyes were also cold. This woman was very scheming. She knew that he would go to that mountain, so she set it up in advance. And there was also a rotten hand. If he didn't have a powerful trump card, he might have been killed by that rotten hand. Lin Xian took a deep breath and said loudly, I don't care about you and those killing saints. I want something from you. Chapter 5002. Luo Sha frowned when she heard Lin Xian's words. The demonic man sneered. Kid, you're too arrogant. There are many people who want to attack us, but they've already gone to hell. We've already killed 50 top-notch assassins from the murdering hole. Do you think you can fight us? The demonic man walked out. Let me finish you. He flashed and appeared behind Lin Xian. He was so fast that even Lin Xian was shocked. The next moment, he felt a hand clasping his head, and the other party bit his neck. There was a loud crack, followed by a scream. The demonic man was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. His teeth were broken. He roared in pain. Damn it, why is your body so strong? Previously, he would break his enemy's neck before sucking their blood. However, this time, he did not manage to break through his opponent's defense. Lin Xian snorted. So he's a vampire. With a backhand, he threw out a punch. The punch was so fast that the demonic man could not dodge it at all. He could only fight back with all his might. Blood nerves. He slapped his palm forward. A blood-red seal descended from the sky and collided with Lin Xian. A loud sound was heard. Then, the two of them exchanged 3 blows. However, there was a loud crack and the blood-red seal shattered. Lin Xian's punch shattered one of his opponent's arms. Ah! The demonic man screamed and flew backward. He roared crazily. Damn kid, I'm going to tear you into pieces. He was furious. To be honest, he had never been at a disadvantage before, especially when he was at the hands of a young man. You're no match for me. Lin Xian shook his head and looked at Luo Sha. You should do it. Damn it, are you underestimating me? The demonic man shouted angrily. He stood up. I'll make you regret this. You'll pay a painful price for underestimating me. As he spoke, he took out a blood-red pill from his storage ring and swallowed it. In the next moment, endless blood-red light appeared on his body. Her broken arm instantly recovered. Not only that, her eyes also became blood-red. A red spear condensed in his hand, as if it was condensed from a sea of blood. The spear pierced out, piercing through heaven and earth. Lin Xian waved his Hellfire Fire Dragon sword and slashed out. A dragon's roar resounded between heaven and earth. Then, hellfire filled the sky and swept across the 9 heavens. When the two collided, Lin Xian seemed to have transformed into the god of hell. Another fierce collision sound rang out as the blood-red spear was completely shattered. Lin Xian's sword pierced towards his opponent's forehead. The demonic man's eyes were filled with terror as the sword enveloped him. Hellfire roared madly between heaven and earth. Sword chi danced in the air and a figure fell from the sky. It was the bewitching man. His body had been completely pierced through like a shattered painting. It was extremely miserable. Lin Xian sneered. Like I said, you're not my match. He wanted to attack again, but at this moment, a jade-white hand stopped him. Everything. He even caught the terrifying sword chi. Your opponent is me. Luo Sha's cold voice rang out. Lin Xian was surprised and narrowed his eyes. This woman was not ordinary. She could actually catch his sword chi with her bare hands. Kid, you're dead. The demonic man carried his injured body and walked into the distance. He had unlimited confidence in Luo Sha. The shroud in Luo Sha's hand was enough to sweep through everything. Lin Xian retracted his sword chi and said coldly. Let me see what your trump card is. As he spoke, he slapped out with his palm. A terrifying demonic aura surged as if it had turned into the palm of a demon god, descending from the sky. It covered the sky and covered the earth as it charged forward. Luo Sha naturally knew how terrifying Lin Xian was. The fact that he could easily defeat the demonic man was enough to show his strength. Therefore, he did not intend to hold back. In an instant, he took out the shroud and directly shrouded the area in front of him. The black demonic hand was shrouded by the shroud and made a rumbling sound. In the next moment, it quickly melted and disappeared. What was this? Lin Xian was surprised. The shroud swept towards him. He was fine, but the Hellfire Dragon sword in his hand was roaring crazily. Kid, run if you don't want to die. As he spoke, the Hellfire Dragon sword wanted to escape. Lin Xian's body swayed as he used Shadowless Heaven's net and instantly disappeared. He arrived at another space, and his brows were tightly furrowed. The place where he was originally standing had long melted and formed a black hole. He could also feel a chill down his spine. A drop of blood dripped from the shroud and burned a crack on his 9-yang divine body. Could it threaten the existence of his divine body? It was unbelievable. Shroud, this was a shroud. How did he have this thing? The Hellfire Dragon sword roared crazily. Lin Xian frowned and said, "What was a shroud? Was it powerful?" It was more than powerful. The Hellfire Dragon sword said that there was a very terrifying thing in hell called the Infernal Corpse. No one knew its origin. Some guessed that it was a nameless great emperor that dropped it when he died. And this shroud had once saved the Infernal Corpse. Think about it, this was something that wrapped the corpse of a great emperor. How terrifying was it? An ordinary great sage would instantly turn into a pool of blood if they were shrouded. Even if I were shrouded, I would also rot. Lin Xian was stunned when he heard this. Something related to the great emperor. It was unbelievable. No wonder the other party was so confident. Rakshasa snorted and stared at the Hellfire Dragon sword. You know quite a lot. That's right, this was a shroud. So, you're no match for me. Be obedient and surrender. He waved his hand and the shroud covered the sky again, shrouding Lin Xian. He could see that Lin Xian's movement technique was extremely exquisite. So this time, the shroud covered the sky and covered the entire sky. No matter how good his movement technique was, he couldn't escape. It was over. The Hellfire Dragon sword was in despair. Could it be that I, a divine weapon, was going to fall to such a state? Lin Xian sneered. Don't worry, you can't threaten me. The Hellfire Dragon sword said, Kid, you're too arrogant. Who do you think you are? If it was that old man, it would be fine. But he seemed to have left. The old man he was talking about was naturally Xia Jiuyo. In his opinion, only such a person could withstand it. The kid in front of him was not enough. Facing the shroud that covered the sky, Lin Xian didn't dodge at all. This time, he took out the heaven-devouring jar. The black jar shone brightly and created a terrifying vortex to meet the attack. In an instant, it collided with the shroud. The two collided and the entire sky shook violently. Countless cracks spread out in all directions. At this moment, everyone in the first level of hell felt it. Countless people looked up at the sky, their faces full of fear. What was that? Chapter 5003. A violent rumble resounded between heaven and earth as the hellfire tornado roared. Wow, you blocked it. How did you do that? He stared fixedly at the black jar. On the other side, the demonic man's face was filled with fear and disbelief. How could I block it? He knew the power of the shroud the best. Even Rakshasa frowned. He also stared at the black jar. Is it an extreme weapon of the great emperor? In his opinion, the shroud was related to the great emperor. The only thing that could block his attack was a weapon related to the great emperor. That was an extreme weapon. His opponent was from an extreme weapon family. Who are you? Rakshasa asked coldly. Who am I? You don't need to know. Hand over the portrait of Ksitigarbha. Lin Xian held the heaven-swallowing jar and said coldly. Rakshasa also snorted coldly. So what if you have an extreme weapon? With your strength, the power you can unleash is at most on par with mine. Is that so? Then let's see who will be in despair. Lin Xian roared, and the heaven-swallowing jar emitted a terrifying light. A black whirlpool covered the sky and swallowed the shroud, trying to swallow it. The shroud actually emitted a chaotic aura to block it. The two super weapons clashed, and the sky fell and the earth cracked. The demonic man was sent flying, and his face was filled with fear. This place was completely shattered. The Hellfire Dragon sword also roared crazily. Damn, extreme weapon. You actually have an extreme weapon? He felt like he was going crazy. Rakshasa's face was cold. He said, it's useless. We'll draw at most. In his opinion, the fact that the other party could take out an extreme-grade weapon was already his strongest trump card. However, Lin Xian said, draw. Are you sure? His body swayed, and he directly charged over. Rakshasa waved his hand, and a shield appeared in his hand. It's useless. I can still block your sword. The Hellfire Dragon sword hit the jade shield, and a deafening sound was heard. However, the shield did not shatter. His opponent blocked it. However, Lin Xian's trump card was not the Hellfire Dragon sword. He summoned the Great Dragon Sword's soul and slashed out, causing the jade shield to shake violently. The light dimmed, and cracks appeared on the surface. How could this be? This time, Rakshasa's expression changed. He stared at the sword shadow. Damn it, how could you have such a weapon? He was really crazy. Could it be that the other party possessed two extreme weapons? He had never heard of anyone who was so heaven-defying. He swung his sword again. This time, one of Luo Sha's arms was chopped off, and half of his body was shattered. He spat out a mouthful of blood as he flew backwards, his expression extremely ugly. The bewitching man in the distance was in despair. Was Luo Sha going to be defeated? Moreover, it was very likely that failure would result in death. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up. The next sword strike would take his opponent's life. However, at that moment, the Rakshasa roared. The shroud in the sky, which was fighting against the heaven-devouring jar, instantly rushed back. They surrounded him. He gritted his teeth and said, "Brat, I didn't expect you to be able to make me reach this step. However, I won't let you succeed." As he spoke, he formed a seal with his palms, and countless mysterious talismans appeared around him. Then, the shroud firmly enveloped him. No. When the bewitching man in the distance saw this, he roared crazily. His eyes were filled with despair. It was obvious that the Rakshasa had to pay a huge price to use this kind of ultimate technique. Lin Xian also frowned. A cold wind blew between heaven and earth. He wanted to make a move, but the other party appeared with a very terrifying barrier, which directly blocked him. In the next moment, the shroud Rakshasa raised his head. Lin Xian could no longer see him. He could only see a pair of eyes. At a glance, his scalp went numb and his body turned cold. What kind of eyes were those? They were emotionless. Lin Xian now suspected that this was not Luo Sha at all. The other party was already dead. He did not know what kind of existence it was now. The shroud had an extremely strange power. Whoosh! The figure covered by the shroud directly rushed over, and then reached out a hand. He charged over. Lin Xian was shocked. Previously, Rakshasa's hand was also as white as jade, but now it was rotten, and white bones appeared in many places. However, that power was comparable to divine iron. It directly tore through the void and grabbed towards his throat and heart. Lin Xian slashed out with his sword. The fire dragon sword slashed in front of him, emitting a series of flames. However, it was not cut off. At the critical moment, he used the shadowless heavenly net movement technique to quickly dodge. Only then did he manage to dodge the attack. Then, her face darkened. It seemed that she could only use her full strength. After all, to use the great dragon sword spirit with all her strength would consume too much energy. However, there was no other way now. Fortunately, since then, the sword world had recovered a bit of strength. It was enough for Lin Xian to use 2 swords. He had to get rid of the other party within 2 swords. Thinking of this, Lin Xian held the great dragon sword spirit and slashed down with both hands. Roar! Between heaven and earth, the sound of a dragon resounded. The power of this sword was too strong. Even though Rakshasa had become an unknown existence, he was still sent flying. One of his hands was broken, but he still stood up. With the shroud, he seemed to have become an immortal existence. It was useless. A cold voice came out. I am now immortal and indestructible. Immortal and indestructible. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Even the great emperor was unable to escape this fate, let alone you. Pretending to be a ghost, watch me kill you. This second sword was even more terrifying. When this sword slashed down, heaven and earth continued to shatter. The entire hell seemed to have been split into 2 halves. This time, Rakshasa's injuries were even more severe. The shroud almost flew out from his body. Half of his body was broken, and the shroud actually became dim. Rakshasa let out a frantic and uneasy cry. Lin Xian frowned. 2 swords did not kill the other party. This shroud was too strange. If he used his strength again, it would be very difficult for him to hold on. Furthermore, hell was so dangerous. Could it be that he had to return empty-handed today? Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. The Rakshasa on the other side seemed to be even more terrified. He let out a beast-like howl, then threw out a scroll from his storage ring. As for him, he fled to the other side. He ran away. Lin Xian was stunned, then understood. His great dragon sword soul was an existence comparable to an extreme Dao weapon. These 2 swords were not easy for the other party. He was even afraid that he would use the 3rd sword, so he ran away. Ignoring the shroud, Lin Xian's figure flashed, and he grabbed the scroll. The next moment, it opened, and a golden light spilled out. It was as if hell had turned into heaven. The hellfire dragon sword flew out crazily. Hang on, don't let this light near me. At this moment, the bones of the dead around hell melted quickly. It was as if the golden light could purify heaven and earth. It was indeed the work of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Lin Xian knew that only Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva had such power. Great! He felt the infernal evil eye on his back twitching uneasily. It was obviously afraid of this power. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian put away the scroll and landed. This battle could be said to be very difficult. Lin Xian used the power of the great dragon sword, causing his body to feel pain. It seemed that he had to go back and rest well. The Rakshasa had run away. The demonic man was already dead. In the battle between the great dragon sword soul and the shroud, the power that was released had already torn him to pieces. The demonic aura on Lin Xian's body also slowly disappeared. There was no one left. He did not have to hide anymore. "It's you." However, at this moment, a cry of surprise was heard. Lin Xian's face darkened. "Who is it? Come out." He stomped his foot, and a force directly shattered the ground. Then, a figure flew out from the ground. This person was holding a tortoise shell, and her face was pale. She looked at Lin Xian with a face full of shock. "It's you. Kid, hand it over." Lin Xian also smiled. He realized that the person hiding under the ground was not someone else, but Yin Tianfeng. Chapter 5004. You saw what happened before? Lin Xian asked coldly. On the phone. That's right, kid, hand over the scroll obediently. Also, hand over all your treasures and I won't tell anyone. Otherwise, when I report to San Saint Hall, you are dead. Yin Tianfeng shouted coldly. Lin Xian laughed. You are really an idiot. If you said that you didn't see it, you might be able to live. Now, do you think I will let you go? Yin Tianfeng scoffed. Why? Don't tell me you dare to make a move on me. Don't forget that you are from Seoul and I am from San Saint Hall. My grandfather is the fifth elder of Killing Hall. He said that the power that he can control is not something that you can imagine. If you offend me, there will be no place for you in hell. Do you want to be chased by countless assassins like those people before? If you don't want to, kneel down and hand over your treasures. Then, you can live. Lin Xian laughed when he heard that. What are you laughing at? Lin Xian said, I am laughing at your ignorance. Who told you that I have to survive in hell? I came here for the scroll. Now that I have the scroll, I can leave hell at any time. So, what you said before can't threaten me. Damn it. Yin Tianfeng's pupils dilated. Was he wrong? He thought that Lin Fan came for the Supreme Emperor's inheritance. After all, with Lin Fan's talent, he could stay here and get the Supreme Emperor's technique. This was something that every expert wanted. However, Lin Fan didn't seem to care at all. Acting, he must be acting. He scoffed. I don't believe that you can bear to leave. However, Lin Xian didn't reply and attacked. He slashed and Yin Tianfeng was sent flying. His arms were chopped off and he fell into a pool of blood. He roared crazily. You dare to hurt me? Why wouldn't I dare? Lin Xian broke the man's legs with a single stomp. Aren't you high and mighty? Don't you want to fight with me? Come, I will give you a chance. Previously in the Hell Canyon, the other party was so overbearing. Lin Xian was too lazy to pay attention to it because he wanted to cultivate his physique. Now, he would let the other party know who was the true expert. Damned brat, if you have the ability, then don't use your weapon and fight me fairly. Yin Tianfeng roared crazily. To him, the opponent was only relying on the strength of his weapon. In terms of true strength, he did not fear the other party at all. Alright, I will fulfill your wish. Lin Xian nodded and kept the Hellfire Dragon sword. Come on. Yin Tianfeng stood up. A cruel smile appeared on his face as he charged forward like a bolt of lightning. Then, he continuously struck out with his palms. Heavenly Wind 10 strikes. He struck out 10 palms in a row, sweeping across the world. This was his most powerful technique. The other party didn't have any weapons, so how could he fight him? Lin Xian didn't use any weapons. Instead, he swung his fists. 6 Dao fist. It pressed forward and collided with the other party's palm. Boom! The sky fell and the earth cracked. The palm shadows that the other party sent out were quickly shattered. After shattering 7 fists, Lin Xian's fists finally slowed down. On the other hand, Yin Tianfeng was completely dumbfounded. He was continuously pushed back by this force. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. How was that possible? He was crazy. The other party didn't use any weapons, but he was still so strong. Could it be that the other party's strength had surpassed his? What kind of joke was this? He was someone who had killed 5 great sages all by himself. I don't believe it. Yin Tianfeng roared in rage. Shadow God Claw. His 5 fingers formed a claw and tore the sky apart. At that moment, he seemed to have turned into an ancient beast. A terrifying aura shook the sky. Boom! Lin Xian formed seals with his palms and unleashed the seal of the fearless lion. A golden lion covered the sky and shattered the divine claw of his opponent. Not only that, it even tore the other party's body apart. Yin Tianfeng was torn into pieces. Do you want to continue? Lin Xian asked calmly. Damn it, I am not convinced. Yin Tianfeng roared in retaliation. However, he realized that Lin Xian was already in front of him. Such quick speed. What technique was that? Shadowless Heaven's Net. Damn, you actually cultivated Shadowless Heaven's Net. Yin Tianfeng was stunned. He wanted to retreat, but a hand grabbed his shoulder and tore it apart. His body was ripped apart. His internal organs were shattered, and he was terrified. At that moment, Lin Xian pointed with his finger. Using his finger as a sword. Shura sword technique. With a finger on his forehead, Yin Tianfeng's head cracked open. His soul was also shaking non-stop. Lin Xian said coldly. Now do you know the gap between the two of us? Yin Tianfeng was in despair. He was badly injured while Lin Xian was unharmed. Was there a need to mention the gap? He lost. He wasn't Lin Xian's opponent at all. I lost. Yin Tianfeng gritted his teeth. However, he was shouting in his heart. Wait for me. When I return, I will bring all of San Saint Hall's strength to kill you. I will take back everything that belongs to you. He swore that he wouldn't let Lin Xian off. However, on the surface, he lowered his head and admitted defeat. Lin Xian looked ahead with a cold smirk on his face. I told you that if you fight me, you will die if you lose. As he said that, he waved his hand and used Shura sword technique to slice Yin Tianfeng's soul apart. Pooey! Yin Tianfeng's soul slowly disappeared. He didn't dare to believe it. Even when he died, he didn't believe that Lin Xian killed him just like that. How dare he? Wasn't he afraid of his grandfather's revenge? Wasn't he afraid of being hunted down by Murdering Hole? Suddenly, he regretted it. What kind of person did he offend? He was simply a demon king who was fearless. Lin Xian waved his hand and took Yin Tianfeng's storage ring as he looked at Yin Tianfeng's destroyed body and soul. Based on what Yin Tianfeng said, Yin Tianfeng had a special status. Who knew if he could learn the Emperor's technique? After getting the storage ring, his body shook and he left the place. He found a mountain range, built an immortal cave, and went in. After entering, Lin Xian checked Yin Tianfeng's storage ring. Then, he frowned. There was indeed an Emperor's technique, but it was also Shadowless Heaven's Net. He didn't even learn the Shura sword technique. It seemed that there were only 2 types of techniques that were commonly circulated. As for the others, there were probably other conditions. Perhaps it was battle achievements or a higher cultivation level. Moreover, there were some changes at this moment. A blood-red token suddenly shone brightly. Then, it condensed into an old man's face. Who dared to kill my grandson? The face seemed to be about to rush out, but it was smashed by Lin Xian with a slap. The token shattered into pieces, and the figure slowly disappeared. However, a venomous voice was still heard. No matter who you are, I won't let you go. Lin Xian snorted at such a threat. He scanned the area with his Tianji god eyes and heaved a sigh of relief when he didn't find anything threatening. In the next moment, Lin Xian waved his hand and took out a scroll. Chapter 5005. The portrait of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was very divine. His face shone brightly and had the power to purify everything. After Lin Xian unfolded it, he felt that he was enveloped by thousands of golden lights. In the next moment, he turned into a divine being, and the infernal evil eye behind him roared incessantly. It was as if it was going to jump out and tear the world apart. Lin Xian turned his back to the portrait of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. He felt as if thousands of sharp swords had stabbed him. He was in pain, but the pain from the infernal evil eye was 10 times more intense. Black smoke rose from his body. Lin Xian gritted his teeth. In the end, the infernal evil eye behind him slowly dissipated. He let out an unwilling roar. There was no more. That was great. Lin Xian checked around and found that the infernal evil eye had really disappeared. He heaved a sigh of relief. He finally didn't have to be threatened by this thing anymore. After tidying up, Lin Xian felt that it was about time to go out. After he went out, he found that Yu and the others were still looking for him. He quickly met up with them. Yu asked, "Where did you go?" Lin Xian said, "I was chased by someone and escaped." Naturally, he wouldn't tell them the truth. He just made up a story. This made Yu and the others frown. In their opinion, Lin Xian should have left because he was timid. It seemed that this genius wasn't much. He was a little timid. They shook their heads and didn't say anything. They brought Lin Xian back to the first level of hell. After they went out, they returned to Soul Sage Lord's territory and handed in the mission. Soul Sage Lord was naturally very happy. Although they had suffered heavy losses this time, the Blood Evil camp was even heavier. Moreover, the Blood Evil camp seemed to have returned empty-handed. Lin Xian naturally knew what had happened. And he knew that the most miserable was not the Blood Slaughter camp, but the people of the Slaughter Temple. The 50 Slaughter Saints of the Slaughter Temple had all been killed. Even Yin Tianfeng had died. Sure enough, not long after, the people of the Slaughter Temple walked over angrily and asked about the situation. Yu and the others frowned. Yin Tianfeng had died. They naturally knew about this genius. This was a genius that Sand Sacred Hall had nurtured with all their might. The other party was also the 5th elder of the Killer Temple. It could be said that his status was extremely noble. Who would have thought that he would fall here? You said, "We have never seen a cloudy day before, but you should know how terrifying hell is." Even the first layer of hell was extremely dangerous. He might have been killed by some mysterious existence. The people from the Killing Temple gritted their teeth in anger. They would not give up. They had to find out who dared to kill Yin Tianfeng. They wanted to tear him to shreds. When Lin Xian faced these people, his face was expressionless. If these people knew that it was him, how would they react? Of course, this secret would probably never be revealed. After that, Moon and the others returned to cultivate and recover. Lin Xian once again went to look for the Soul Sage Lord. He said what he thought. When the Soul Sage Monarch heard this, he was shocked. You still want to go to the 18 levels of hell? Moreover, you want to go to the 2nd level this time. He was too shocked. One had to know that there was a cloudy wind on the first level. Even such a genius had fallen, let alone the second and third levels. It would be even more dangerous. Lin Xian said, "Please help me. I must break through." Lin Xian was no longer threatened by the infernal evil eye, but he did not plan to give up. He planned to find the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation again to increase his reincarnation power. It would be best if he could turn the Tianji divine eye into the Rinnegan. This way, his strength would be greatly improved. Only then would he be qualified to compete with the Dragon Emperor faction. "Have you really decided?" the Soul Sage Lord asked in a deep voice. Lin Xian nodded. He had made up his mind. The Soul Sage Lord said, "Well, a genius like you is indeed worth the risk. But you have to wait. Wait 3 months. The second layer of hell will not open easily." Then, Lin Xian began to wait. During this period, he had been cultivating Shadowless Sky River and Ashura Sword technique. These 2 top divine abilities were very difficult to cultivate. Every time there was a breakthrough, there would be an earth-shaking change in power. 3 months later, Lin Xian was even more proficient in cultivating the 2 divine abilities. On this day, Moon came again. "I am under the orders of the Sage Lord to bring you to hell." To be honest, Moon was very good. Wasn't this guy a coward? Why did he still dare to go in? Lin Xian said, "Thank you." He followed Moon and soared into the sky. You gave him a storage ring that contained some resources for recovery and cultivation. At the same time, there were some maps that contained information about hell. Soon, they entered the first layer of hell. However, Moon did not leave. Instead, he continued to bring Lin Xian forward. There was a passage between each layer. This passage could only be opened at a specific time. Therefore, those who wanted to go to the second layer were waiting near the passage. Sure enough, when Lin Xian and Moon arrived, there were already many people gathered around. These people's eyes flickered, and their auras were powerful. None of the people here were weaklings. They were all great sages. Therefore, when they saw that Lin Xian was only a sage king, they frowned. Who was this person? Was he so reckless? Some people sneered. There were always self-righteous geniuses who thought that their strength was outstanding. They wanted to enter the second layer of hell, but they were killed instantly after entering. This person was probably no exception. No one was optimistic about Lin Xian. Lin Xian was too lazy to care. How could these people know about his strength? Finally, after waiting for another 3 days, the passage ahead appeared. The surrounding people said that it was okay. They could go in. However, no one went in. They were all waiting. It seemed that not only could they go in, but the people inside could also come out. A few figures flew out from inside. Those people were very powerful. As soon as they appeared, they looked around vigilantly and then quickly fled. These people came from all corners of the underworld, and some of them were top-notch experts. Some of the hidden geniuses could not be underestimated. Also, you must be careful after entering. The old people inside might bully the newcomers. You have to know that although everyone belongs to the underworld, the rule of the underworld is killing. It is even more so inside. No one will protect you, even if you are a person of the Soul Sage Lord. In there, identity is not the most important. Strength is the most important. Therefore, don't be careless. Lin Xian nodded. I understand. Taking a deep breath, he walked forward. I wish you good luck. Moon sighed. To be honest, he was not optimistic about Lin Xian. Looking at the disappearing figure in front, he shook his head and also left. It would take at least half a year for the other party to come out of the second layer. Therefore, there was no need for him to stay here. He had to go back and report. Lin Xian's figure flashed and walked inside. After entering, he felt that the second layer was even more eerie and terrifying. Chapter 5006. After Lin Xian came in, he walked forward. Suddenly, the ground split open. A terrifying blood-red spear shot towards him. The terrifying aura was enough to make anyone's blood run cold. At the critical moment, Lin Xian's body swayed. He used Shadowless Heaven's net and dodged the attack by a hair's breadth. At the same time, the infernal sword flew out and slashed. With a clang, the spear was knocked away. At the same time, a figure retreated. When Lin Xian saw the figure, his face completely darkened. It was a blood-red zombie, holding a blood-red spear in his hand. It was extremely terrifying. He stared at Lin Xian and revealed a sinister smile. A mere Saint King was actually able to avoid my assassination. Interesting. It seemed like someone who came in this time was quite impressive. After that, he tore open the ground and disappeared. Lin Xian did not chase after him. He did not know who else was here other than the blood zombie. He did not know much about the second level, so he had to be careful. Looking around, his face darkened. He shouted coldly, "Come out!" With that, he charged into the distance. In the void far away, two figures appeared, holding blood-red sabers in their hands. Their faces were cold. "Good kid, you can actually detect our presence. Then go to hell." The two sabers emitted a bright light, enveloping Lin Xian and clashing with the Hellfire Dragon sword. With a clang, the two were forced back. Damn it, the sword in this guy's hand is not ordinary. So what? Attack! The two of them, one on the left and one on the right, began to charge towards Lin Xian quickly. These two were great sage, and their strength was extremely terrifying. However, how could they be a match for Lin Xian? Lin Xian waved the Hellfire Dragon sword and split open their heads. Blood dyed the sky red. The headless corpses fell. The two great sage widened their eyes in disbelief. They really did not expect that the other party could kill them in one strike. The two of them even realized that the other party was using the legendary Shura sword technique. Could a young man use the Shura sword technique to such an extent? It was too unbelievable. Lin Xian was shocked as well. No wonder it was a great emperor's ability. If the first sword of the Azura sword skill was already so terrifying, how much more terrifying would the remaining 6 sword moves be? However, with his current strength, he was still unable to use it. Next, Lin Xian continued on his journey. He discovered many battles. There were some who came in like him, but they didn't even live for half a day before they were assassinated. There were also some experts who were fighting with each other. The fighting was earth-shattering. Lin Xian saw 2 more. One of them was a blood-colored bat. Its wings were slashed open, covering the heaven and earth. He was fighting with a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was no ordinary man either. He waved his scythe like a god of death. The two of them struck the ground from the sky, and one of them even reached the blood sea. In short, it was extremely terrifying. In the end, their energy was about to envelop Lin Xian. Lin Xian hurriedly used Shadowless Heaven's net and quickly left. It was too terrifying. These two people were extremely terrifying existences in the middle stage of the Great Sage. He didn't know if there were any sage-level existences here. "And you actually dared to come to my territory." When Lin Xian came to a black land again, a crack appeared on the ground. A black chariot appeared. There was a group of figures on it. They were wearing black armor and holding black swords. They were incomparably terrifying. Countless skeletons appeared around him. These weren't ordinary skeletons. They were formed after the death of the great sage. The long sword in the middle-aged man's hand carried an extremely terrifying power. It controlled the skeletons and charged forward. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. It was too terrifying. This power wasn't something he could resist. Damn it. No matter how strong he was, it was a one-on-one battle. The other party had brought along an army of skeletons. How could he fight? However, what made him even more shocked was that he discovered that the other party was controlling the skeletons with that sword. That sword had the power of reincarnation. Of course, it wasn't the reincarnation sword. However, the power of reincarnation shocked him. He didn't expect to discover the power of reincarnation as soon as he arrived. "Young man, you won't be able to escape," the man in black armor said coldly. He enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian said, "Senior, I just came here. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm willing to give you a top-grade treasure sword. Please let me go." As he spoke, Lin Xian took out the Hellfire Dragon sword. The Hellfire Dragon sword immediately scolded, "Damn it. Kid, you dare to trick me." Lin Xian warned him. Then, he transmitted his voice, "I'll beat you at your own game. When you kill him, he has the power of reincarnation on his sword. I can give you some. You can control the power of reincarnation. Give it to me." The Hellfire Dragon sword was shocked. Lin Xian didn't reply. Instead, he winked at him. Alright, since the Hellfire Dragon said so, he would believe him this time. He became quiet. The man in black armor in front of him shouted coldly, "What treasure? You're just a sage king." His eyes were filled with disdain. However, when he saw the Hellfire Dragon sword, his eyes lit up. This sword seemed unusual. The Hellfire Dragon sword was proud. "Of course, it was my treasure sword. Present it." The man in black armor in front of him shouted coldly. Two skeletons walked up and took the Hellfire Dragon sword away. Lin Xian became extremely respectful. He lowered his head. However, there was a shocking light in his eyes. "Senior, are you satisfied?" Lin Xian asked with a smile. The man in black armor held the Hellfire Dragon sword in his left hand. He waved it gently and tore a crack of tens of thousands of meters in the sky. He laughed loudly. "I'm satisfied. Kid, although you're an ant and trespassed into my territory, I can show you mercy and spare your life. Let's go." He waved his hand and the skeletons opened up a path. Lin Xian clasped his fists. "Thank you, senior." He turned and left. When Lin Xian left the skeletons, the Hellfire Dragon sword suddenly emitted a terrifying light. "You think you're worthy of me?" He slashed at the man in black armor. The man in black's pupils constricted. He didn't expect the Hellfire Dragon sword to be able to attack. Furthermore, he had caught him off guard and was charging straight at him. "You're courting death." He roared and wanted to block with his sword. However, the Hellfire Dragon sword was very fast and cut off his entire right hand. At the same time, it carried the Black Demon's sword and soared into the sky, tearing the 9 heavens apart. Damn it! The man in black armor was angry. This sword couldn't kill him, but it took away his black sword. This was unbearable. Go after him. Kill him for me. Tear that sword and that kid into pieces. He roared at the sky. The white bone army around him split into 2 groups and charged forward, covering the sky and covering the earth. One went for the Hellfire Dragon sword, the other went for Lin Xian. At this moment, countless people in the second level of hell were alarmed. God, the Black Devil Lord is angry. Who made him so angry? Countless people were shocked. Some plants in hell sent news. It was a young man who just came in. No way. Who is so daring? Could it be that some of the top young geniuses of hell have entered? End of chapter. Chapter 5007. Those top geniuses were very terrifying. They were very close to the emperor. Therefore, only such a genius could be so daring. However, they didn't know that this person wasn't from the underworld. It was Lin Xian. The moment Lin Xian left the Bone Army, he used Shadowless Heaven's net. He began to fight with the Hellfire Dragon Sword. When the Hellfire Dragon Sword first obtained the Black Sword, it laughed loudly. It felt the terrifying power of reincarnation on it and was very happy. Although it had an extraordinary background and was like a divine sword, it didn't have the power of reincarnation. If it had it, its grade and power could be increased again. But very quickly, he felt that something was wrong. That was because he discovered that endless white bones were rushing towards him. One by one, the bone swords and bone weapons kept attacking its body. It made its body shake. Damn it, it hurts so much. The Hellfire Dragon eyes kept roaring. Lin Xian, on the other hand, sent a voice transmission to the other party and told him to go. Then, he used his movement technique and quickly disappeared. Because he was also being chased by many bone armies. Lin Xian's movement technique became more and more proficient in this pursuit. Soon, he shook off the bone army and arrived at a mountain peak. He began to wait. After waiting for about 2 days, the Hellfire Dragon Sword returned. Its body became dim, and it was about to go crazy. Damn it, it actually made me suffer such a loss. I will definitely kill it. It roared crazily. Lin Xian said. Where's the black sword? It's here. There was a black sword under the Hellfire Dragon Sword. It was the sword that Lin Xian wanted. A sharp light appeared in his eyes. He directly swallowed it with the heaven-swallowing jar. The Hellfire Dragon Sword said, Kid, I spent so much effort. You said that you would give me the power of reincarnation. Lin Xian said, Don't worry, I'll take a look first. He also entered the heaven-swallowing jar. Endless darkness enveloped her. A black whirlpool was bobbing up and down. The Fire Dragon Sword waited at the side while Lin Xian went in. After that, he brought the black sword into the sword world. He sat down cross-legged, and the black sword wanted to resist. Lin Xian used the power of the sword world and transformed it into 2 heavenly monuments, directly suppressing it. Then, he activated his heavenly secret god eyes and started to absorb the reincarnation energy. The heavenly secret god eyes became stronger and stronger, but the black sword became dimmer and dimmer. Just like that, half a year passed. On this day, Lin Xian stood up with a smile on his face. The power of reincarnation on the black sword was completely absorbed by him. He could feel that his heavenly secret divine eyes had become even stronger than before. He could even construct a simple reincarnation passage. Lin Xian was overjoyed. He walked out. The Hellfire Dragon Sword said, Brat, you took so long, give me the power of reincarnation. Lin Xian said, I'll give you 2 choices. First, I'll give you the power of reincarnation. Second, I can reduce the time you have to work as a coolie. What do you mean? The Hellfire Dragon Sword asked. Lin Xian said, Your remnant soul is still expanding your territory. Do you plan to expand your territory for the rest of your life? 10,000 years, 20,000 years. 100,000 years. You're a remnant soul, drifting outside of reincarnation. You won't die, but you won't be able to recover. If I'm willing, I can let you expand your territory forever. Of course, I'm a kind person, I won't do that. If you're willing to give up the power of reincarnation, I plan to reduce the time by 100 years. Only 100 years, if you can't, reduce it by 1,000 years. The Hellfire Dragon sword roared crazily. Lin Xian smiled, deal. Since the other party was already subdued by Xia Zhuoyou, then the coolie would have unlimited time. Reducing 1,000 years from unlimited time was no different from not reducing it. The Hellfire Dragon sword fell for it, but Lin Xian wouldn't tell the other party. He nodded, all right, I'll reduce it by 1,000 years. If you can let me get more reincarnation energy, I'll reduce it by a few thousand years every time. How about it? All right, it's a deal. The Hellfire Dragon sword seemed to see the hope of freedom. And, I can feel your presence again. In a faraway valley, the man in black armor roared crazily. Surrounding him was an army of skeletons. After half a year, he finally felt the presence of that person from back then. How dare you snatch my black sword and lie to me, I won't let you go. He led the army of skeletons and charged towards Lin Xian. Not good, I've been discovered. The Hellfire Dragon sword saw the army of skeletons surrounding them. His face turned green. Kid, think of a way, these are the corpses of the great sage. Lin Xian's face turned cold, you dare to come. And, return it to me, I'll tear you to pieces. The man in black armor roared crazily. He was fooled by a young man, he couldn't accept it. Moreover, this matter had spread, the experts and living beings in this area were all laughing at him. Lin Xian said, you want your sword, right? I'll return it to you. With a wave of his hand, a black sword flew out and flew forward. The man in black armor's eyes lit up, he grabbed it, then his face turned ugly. Damn it, the power of reincarnation is gone. You destroyed my reincarnation rune, I want you dead. He turned around and swung the sword. So that thing is called the reincarnation rune, tell me, where did you get it? I can spare your life, Lin Xian snorted. You dare to have designs on the reincarnation rune, the man in black armor roared crazily. He sneered, spare my life. I'm in the middle stage of the great sage. Why do I need you to spare my life? Go to hell. The sword energy shone brightly again, descending from the 9 heavens, it could cut through heaven and earth. In an instant, it enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted, he didn't resist at all. Shadowless heaven's net. He came to a distance, but the army of skeletons around him still sealed the area. The man in black armor said, you can't escape, today is the day you die. Lin Xian smiled, you can control this army of skeletons because of the reincarnation rune. Now that the reincarnation rune is gone, you still want to control them. I can only say that you're too reckless. Oh no, the man in black armor's expression changed. He had a bad feeling about this. Indeed, he couldn't control them for too long. That was why he was so angry. However, it shouldn't be a problem to kill a young man. Lin Xian sneered, it seems that you won't give up until you see the coffin. Let me tell you, how should I use the power of reincarnation? His eyes shone with a golden light, and a pair of golden heavenly eyes enveloped the entire army of skeletons. Reincarnation defied the heavens. The light of reincarnation flew out and enveloped the army of skeletons. In the next moment, these skeletons roared crazily. The green light in their eyes kept flickering, as if it was about to be extinguished. Lin Xian's voice also sounded. You've already died in battle. Perhaps you were unlucky, or perhaps you were killed for revenge. But in any case, you're already dead, and your souls are about to enter the reincarnation cycle. Live again. But someone interfered with the power of the reincarnation cycle, leaving your remnant souls in the skeletons, unable to reincarnate. You can't be reborn. It's that person. Kill him, and you can enter the reincarnation cycle. Chapter 5008. Damn brat, what are you doing? The black-armored man roared crazily. He was very afraid, but he soon sneered. You want to control this army of skeletons? What a joke. You should cultivate for 10,000 years. In his opinion, Lin Xian could not do it at all. However, he still underestimated the heavenly secret divine eyes. Lin Xian used the heavenly secret divine eyes, and a pair of golden eyes looked down in all directions. The light of reincarnation enveloped the army of skeletons. The army of skeletons roared crazily, and the green light in their eyes kept flickering. Their souls seemed to be leaving. Seeing this scene, the black-armored man's expression finally changed. No! Damn it, he used the Dharma seal to suppress them. However, there were too many souls. Without the power of reincarnation, it was difficult for him to suppress them. Lin Xian pointed at the black-robed man and said loudly, "Kill him, and your souls can ascend to heaven. I'll let you enter reincarnation." Roar! The army of skeletons roared crazily. Then, they turned their heads and stared at the black-armored man before pouncing over. No! Damn it, how dare you! The black-armored man roared crazily, trying to escape. However, there were too many skeletons around him. In an instant, they enveloped him and tore him into pieces. It was not that the black-armored man was weak, but the skeletons around him were too powerful. They had obeyed the power of reincarnation before, and now they were angry. How could the black-armored man escape? He brought this upon himself. Lin Xian sneered and said, "I'll help you enter reincarnation." He used the heavenly secret divine eyes to the extreme, forming a reincarnation vortex. Come in, your souls. The souls of the surrounding skeletons rose into the air and entered reincarnation. This way, they could be reincarnated. The skeletons fell one after another, piling up into a mountain of skeletons. Beads of sweat trickled down Lin Xian's forehead. To be honest, such a long time of continuous reincarnation had consumed a lot of his energy. However, he felt that it was worth it. This time, his heavenly secret divine eyes had become stronger. The 18 levels of hell was indeed a good place. Next, he had to continue searching for the power of reincarnation. At this moment, the sound of applause rang out. Good technique, I didn't expect you to be able to use the power of reincarnation. Upon hearing this, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He turned around and shouted coldly. Who was it? Come out, a woman walked over from the front. She was dressed in a black robe and had a beautiful face. She smiled. Don't be afraid, I don't have any bad intentions. Then what do you want? Lin Xian's face was cold. Hell was a cruel place, and no one would hold back. Naturally, he would not be careless. The woman in front of him was so mysterious. She actually didn't leave after seeing his methods. This showed that the other party was very confident. Who are you? Lin Xian asked again. My name is Nai Luo, and I come from the Bridge of Helplessness. The Bridge of Helplessness. This was also one of the most powerful organizations in the underworld. But why was the other party looking for him? Nero laughed. It seems like you don't know anything. Well, for a sage king like you to be able to come here, you must have broken through some restrictions. The people here were all here to cultivate and improve their strength. Every level of hell was extremely mysterious, so it was also extremely dangerous. Not only did they have to face the dangers of hell, but they also had to face the dangers of the people around them. And fighting alone was not a wise choice. Therefore, some like-minded people gathered together to form small groups. I'm here to invite you to join the illusionary flowers, reflected moon. The illusionary flowers, reflected moon. Lin Xian frowned. Nero laughed. That's right, the illusionary flowers, reflected moon is the organization we're currently in. How about it, are you interested? Nero said that the man in black armor from before was not the only one. The others also have some special methods. You might even meet someone from an organization. When that time comes, no matter how strong you are, I'm afraid you can only escape. You might even be killed. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Although he had consumed a lot of energy, he could still feel it. The woman in front of him really did not seem to have any ill intentions. So he nodded and said, "Okay, I'm interested." Nero laughed and waved her hand. "Come with me." With that, she turned and flew into the distance. Lin Xian followed. He took out an elixir and swallowed it. He quickly circulated the immortality art to recover the energy he had consumed. The two of them flew for about half a day before slowly coming to a stop. Nero looked at the lake in front of her. With a wave of her hand, a passage appeared in the middle of the lake. She flew in. Lin Xian followed her in. Before entering, he had already used his heavenly secret god eyes to check. There was indeed a strong aura below. It should be the other members of the illusionary flowers, reflected moon. After entering, it was indeed a different world. There was an underground cave with many people inside. These people were all at the Great Sage Realm. There were even a few in the middle stage of the Great Sage Realm. One could imagine that Lin Xian, a Sage King, was here. It was indeed very strange. "Nero, you're back." The people inside smiled and greeted the woman in black. When they saw that Nero didn't come back alone, they were all puzzled. Someone else came back. "Nero, is it someone new?" They all looked at Lin Xian and then frowned. He was only a Sage King. They were really stunned. Someone said, "Nero, why is the person you found so weak this time?" When this was said, the others laughed. Indeed, the weakest here was the Great Sage Realm. There were even people at the middle stage of the Great Sage Realm. A Sage King was indeed not enough. Nero said, "What do you people know? He is a top genius." Although he was only a Sage King, his methods were very scary. He could use the power of reincarnation. "Oh, really?" When this was said, the others' expressions changed. The fact that he could come to the second level meant that he did have some tricks up his sleeve. As for the power of reincarnation, it shocked them even more. This power was a legendary power. It was very magical. "Nero, is what you said true? Does he really know how to use the power of reincarnation?" At this moment, another voice came from the front. Lin Xian also looked up. In the next moment, he was stunned. He realized that there was a throne in front of him. On the throne was not a person, but a floating mirror. There was a strange flower in the mirror that kept spinning. It was a black flower that was unusually strange. The illusionary flowers, reflected moon. It seemed that the person who created this organization was related to this mirror. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. When he was looking at the other party, the mirror was also looking at him. Chapter 5009. "Young man, what's your name?" The mirror asked in a deep voice. Lin Xian said, "My name is Lin Wudi." Lin Wudi. The others were shocked. What an arrogant name. He actually dared to call himself invincible. The mirror kept shaking. He was indeed arrogant. "Lin Wudi, do you really know how to use the power of reincarnation? Can you show it to me?" Lin Xian's eyes shone with the light of reincarnation, forming a reincarnation vortex. When the surrounding people felt this power, they all exclaimed in surprise. It was indeed the power of reincarnation. They looked at Lin Xian enviously. The power of reincarnation was extremely mysterious. Very few people could control it. The mirror in front of him smiled. That's great. Now, I'm inviting you on behalf of the illusionary flowers, water and moon. Are you willing to join? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. I don't know much about you. Can you tell me more about it? The mirror said, that's true. It seems like you haven't been here for long. There are countless organizations in the 18th level of hell. These organizations are all formed by the people who came here to train. In this organization, we have some restrictions. For example, we can't betray. Of course, there are more restrictions. As long as the organization is in danger, you can come back. Other times, we won't restrict you. As long as you find the location of the treasure, you can use the organization's power to attack it. Even our organizations only exist in the 18th level of hell. As long as you leave here and go to other places in the underworld, there are no restrictions. Lin Xian understood. Actually, it was because the 18th level of hell was too dangerous. These people were temporarily formed in order to improve the safety of the people. They were also afraid of danger, so they formed some conditions. For example, they couldn't betray, etc. Although Lin Xian was very confident in himself, the 18th level of hell was also dangerous. He might come into contact with these people at any time. Moreover, he didn't know much about this place. It was good to have a group of people who could provide him with information. After thinking about it, he nodded and said, okay, I'm willing to join. Very good. The mirror stopped shaking, and a black flower flew out from it. It floated to Lin Xian's side. He said, this is the symbol of the illusionary flowers, water and moon. It can prove your identity. We can even contact our teammates. Lin Xian put the black flower away. Congratulations, you've become one of us. Nero walked over with a smile and said, next, I'm going to explore a place. Come with me. Lin Xian nodded. Nero turned around and looked at the people around him. I still need 7 more helpers. This time, I am preparing to explore the spirit refining territory. Who is willing to go? Nero's voice sounded out. The others were astonished. The spirit refining territory was not an ordinary place. Immediately, a few figures walked over and said that they were willing to go. Soon, the 7 of them had gathered. Among them, there were actually 2 mid-stage great sage existences. It had to be said that it was truly shocking. One had to know that a great sage in the middle stage could already become an elder in the 3 major orthodoxies. Even in the clans of the ancients, they were still at the level of elders. His status was very high. Lin Xian had to look up to such a person before. But now, he could stand side by side with them. In fact, Lin Xian was confident that as long as he could form the true Rinnegan, he would be able to surpass them. Let's go. Everyone is here. Including Lin Xian and Nero, there are a total of 9 people. Nero waved his hand and took out a black leaf. After everyone stood on it, they turned into a stream of light and flew quickly. Along the way, everyone was silent. Lin Xian looked around curiously. He had not been to many places on the 2nd level. So, he was amazed when he saw the various terrains. Suddenly, the ground below them split open. Another palm covered the sky and covered the earth. It was a palm made of bones. The palm was red with blood-red runes on it. It grabbed at the void. Lin Xian exclaimed. The others were shocked too. They thought that it was going to attack them. Nero made a hand seal and the black leaf changed its direction. The blood-red palm did not attack them. Instead, it grabbed at the front. In the void, an angry roar could be heard. Then, the shadow of a blood mountain appeared in the sky. It was a blood-red bat. Each of them was as tall as a mountain. They were extremely huge. When they flapped their wings, the sky cracked and the earth cracked. Their fangs tore everything apart. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle, as if two gods were fighting. Nero's face was cold. He knew that such existences were very scary. One of them was enough to threaten their lives. So, he was prepared to take a detour. He made a hand seal and the black leaf changed its direction, preparing to leave. However, at this moment, a cloud of blood-red mist rushed towards them. It turned out that a blood bat in the sky had targeted them and was attacking them. Not good. The black leaf flashed past quickly. It turned into a flash of lightning and dodged the attack by a hair's breadth. But the blood bat spread its wings and flew away. Damn it! Are we being targeted? When the others saw this scene, their faces turned extremely ugly. At this moment, a great sage mid-stage expert snorted. It's just a blood bat. Although it's powerful, if the 9 of us attack together, we can definitely kill it. Nero, quickly pull away and take him away. We'll attack. Nero nodded and sped up. The black leaf was even faster and turned into a stream of light. That blood bat chased after them. When they were far away from the battle, they stopped. The two great sage middle-stage powerhouses waved their hands, and terrifying laws rushed over in an overwhelming manner. Nero also looked at Lin Xian and said, "Use the power of reincarnation to help us." Lin Xian nodded and said that it was a robbery. A pair of golden eyes appeared in the void and looked down at the blood-red bat. The light of reincarnation turned into swords of reincarnation and attacked. The blood-red bat was challenged. He roared at the sky. With his strength and power, these people were like ants in his eyes. Now that an ant dared to challenge him, how could he tolerate it? In an instant, he let out a terrifying roar and fought against the swords of reincarnation in the sky. Those swords of reincarnation shattered and turned into a sea of reincarnation that swept between heaven and earth. It was used to affect the blood-red bat. This was a good opportunity. When Nero and the others saw this, they all attacked. These 8 experts were very powerful, especially the 2 great sage mid-stage experts. One of them formed countless blood-red mountains that pressed down from the sky. The other held a blood-red saber in his hand. With a sweep, he destroyed everything. Nero even summoned a bridge of helplessness that appeared under the blood-red bat. It was used to affect the opponent's soul. Chapter 50-10. The blood-colored bat let out a crazy roar as it was surrounded by the group of people. He never thought that the ants in his eyes would be so terrifying. It roared and screamed for help. In the distance, another blood-colored bat rushed over. This made Nero and the rest change their expressions. Oh no, they could still fight against one blood-colored bat. But if another one came, they would not be able to fight against it. These things were far stronger than them. Leave quickly. Helplessness roared and they quickly moved away. Lin Xian also took a deep breath and was about to leave. But at this moment, the void split open and a huge metal rod flew through the air. With a clang, it hit one of the blood-colored bats and turned it into a bloody mist. This shocking scene caused Lin Xian and the others to be stunned. The other blood-colored bat was also stunned. Heaven and earth fell silent. The heavens were so scary. The people of the catoptric deflection were terrified. This was a peerless expert. Even Lin Xian's pupils constricted. The blood-colored bat was so terrifying that it had surpassed the Great Sage intermediate stage. Even if he wanted to deal with it, he would have to use the power of the heaven-devouring jar or the great dragon sword soul. But now, someone killed such a terrifying blood-colored bat with a single strike. How powerful was this person? The other blood-colored bat was also terrified and wanted to escape. But at this moment, the metal rod swung again and pressed down like an ancient demonic mountain. It directly tore the second blood-colored bat into pieces. Heaven and earth were shattered and endless cracks appeared. 2 huge blood-colored bats fell. Their sage blood turned into a sea of blood that roared between heaven and earth. Helplessness was facing a powerful enemy. Was this person a friend or a foe? Lin Xian also took a deep breath. If it was a powerful enemy, he would have to use the power of the heaven-devouring jar. Thank you for your help. Helplessness cupped his fists and turned to leave. However, the iron rod in the air was like an iron chain crossing the river, blocking their path. What was the meaning of this? Helplessness frowned. Could it be that you want to attack me? Get lost, he stays. A cold voice was heard as the iron rod was pointed at Lin Xian. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. The other party was coming for him. Ji He and the others also frowned and said coldly, "We all belong to the mirror's flower, mirror's moon. Since we came together, we naturally have to leave together." Did he have a death wish? The huge iron cudgel in the sky came crashing down. Damn it! Hell roared, unleashing the bridge of helplessness to resist. With a clang, he was almost sent flying. The bridge of helplessness was split into 2 halves. The people behind also shouted angrily and attacked one after another. And they couldn't stop it. The laws and divine abilities of the heavenly palace were completely obliterated by this iron staff. A few of them were also injured. He was too powerful, so powerful that they found it hard to resist. Lin Wudi, hurry up and leave. Limbo roar, we can still block one of his attacks. However, Lin Xian shook his head. There was no need for that. He could see that the gap between them was too big. But there was no reason for them to die for him, so he didn't run. Instead, he looked at the iron cudgel in front of him and said coldly, "I don't seem to know you. Why are you looking for me? Eat my cudgel first." The other party raised the iron cudgel and charged directly at Lin Xian. When the attack landed, the surrounding sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The entire void had turned into a state of chaos. Not good. Hell and the others' pupils shrank. They couldn't block such a powerful attack. Lin Xian definitely couldn't block it. Could it be that he was going to kill him in one blow? Their eyes were filled with despair. However, a black vortex appeared in the shattered void. It kept spinning. The vortex directly blocked the iron cudgel's attack. The two were in a stalemate in the air. Then, the iron cudgel pressed down with an even more terrifying force. The vortex was torn apart, but Lin Xian had already arrived on the other side. He actually blocked it. Hell and the others were shocked. They had personally experienced how terrifying the power of the iron cudgel was. They couldn't block a single attack together, but now, Lin Xian could block it alone. It was really unbelievable. It seemed that they had underestimated Lin Xian. It's useless. You can't kill me. Lin Xian said coldly, tell me your background. You're actually capable. You actually managed to dodge my attack. I can feel that you have an extremely strong reincarnation power, so I need you to help me do something. Lin Xian frowned after hearing this. I'm not familiar with you, right? Indeed, we don't know each other. But since you saved me, I will naturally repay you. In the future, if you encounter any danger, old Sun will help you deal with it. What arrogance! Lin Xian smiled. Then, if I ask you to kill the Emperor's son, can you deal with it? Yes, the other party's voice was extremely confident. Moreover, I know that you should still need the power of reincarnation. I have it here. How about it? Are you interested? I, old Sun, won't lie to you. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He felt that this person was very interesting, even though he was a bit short-tempered and his attacks were terrifying. Although his attacks were fierce, he didn't seem to be a bad person. He said, "All right, I'll meet you." He was also very curious about such a person. "All right, follow me." The iron cudgel led the way in the air. Lin Xian rose into the air. Behind him, Hell and the others asked, "Are we really going?" This guy was very mysterious and seemed very evil. The others were also frowning. Lin Xian said, "It's fine. If there's any danger, we can still escape. I have a way." Well, Nero and the others were also very curious about the origin of such a person. Hence, they all followed him. After flying for about 2 days, they finally arrived. This was already a very deep place in the second level of Hell. The surroundings were very dangerous and there were very few people here. Hellfire appeared in front of them again. This flame was very terrifying. Hell and the others had to use all their strength to resist. The Hellfire Dragon sword also said, feeling a familiar aura. It flew out. It circled around to absorb the hellfire. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He was looking for that iron cudgel. "I, old Sun, am here." Suddenly, a loud voice came from the mountains in front of them. Lin Xian's body shook and he increased his speed. In the next moment, he descended. There was a steep mountain in front of them. It had an extremely terrifying aura. Here, it seemed to destroy everything. Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air after he finished looking. There was actually a person underneath the mountain. The entire mountain was carved with runes and there were even chains around it. This scene seemed a little familiar. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes because the Hellfire Dragon was suppressed previously. Back then, it was a black stone tablet. Now, it was a mountain. Could it be that this person was like the Hellfire Dragon, an extremely terrifying supreme existence? Chapter 50:11. Young man, I'm here. A furry palm waved towards him. Lin Xian was surprised. He looked carefully and realized that the person being suppressed by the mountain was not a human, but a monkey. Demon beast. Lin Xian flew forward. Although the situation seemed strange and dangerous, Lin Xian was confident that he could handle it. Even if he released another Hellfire Dragon, he could still enter the Sword World. He walked over and looked at the suppressed monkey. "Who are you? Why are you suppressed here?" "My name is Sun Qitian. I'm not sure why I'm suppressed, because I've been suppressed here since I was born. If I, old Sun, knew who dared to suppress me, I would definitely beat him into a bloody mist. I would make him unable to reincarnate. I wonder who suppressed him." Lin Xian was surprised. He did not believe him. After so many years, how could he not know? "Humph, young man, old Sun, I'm only 2,000 years old. Do you think I'm old?" "Impossible." Nai Luo and the rest were all stunned. 2,000 years old, his strength was so terrifying, and he was being suppressed. How could he cultivate? Could it be that he was so terrifying since birth? Lin Xian was also shocked. One must know that the other party could easily kill the blood bat. This meant that his true strength would be even more powerful. This person was indeed strange. "Don't try to lie to me, tell me the truth." Lin Xian snorted. Sun Chitian snorted, "What, old son, am speaking the truth. Could it be that you guys were not powerful after birth? I feel that I didn't need to cultivate much to reach this stage. If I, old son, had been free for the past 2,000 years, I would have pierced through the sky." Lin Xian was even more shocked after hearing this. He suddenly had an idea. One must know that there were such people in the world, such as the Dragon Prince and Kun Pingzi. Such people became saints at birth. They did not need to cultivate. After awakening their bloodline, their strength would increase by leaps and bounds. But that was an emperor. Could it be that the monkey in front of him was also an emperor? If that was the case, it would be too inconceivable. No matter if it was Kun Pingzi or the Dragon Prince, they were protected by countless people and had a great emperor family behind them. That was an existence that stood at the pinnacle of the world. But now, if this monkey was the emperor's son, that would be way too tragic. He was directly suppressed by someone. Who was it? He dared to make a move against someone from the emperor clan. He didn't know about any of this. But at this moment, Whitey flew out and looked ahead. Her big eyes reddened instantly, and there were even tears falling down. He began to sob. "Hey, little monkey, come here." Sun Chitian was shocked. With a wave of his hand, Little White flew over. Sun Chitian was extremely envious. "You're quite free, little one." Little White jumped on Sun Chitian's head, its big eyes red. He seemed to feel pity for Sun Chitian. Then, he flew back and said to Lin Xian, "Save him, he's so pitiful." I could tell that he wasn't a bad person. Lin Xian was shocked. This was the first time Little White was in such a state. He nodded and said, "Don't worry, since you are all monkeys, I will save him." "Really? That's great." Little White smiled happily. Lin Xian walked over and said, "How can I help you? Could it be done just by lifting the mountain? If it was that easy, I would have shattered it long ago." Sun Chitian sighed. "All these years, I've only felt the power of reincarnation. It seems that the power of reincarnation is suppressing me. That's why I found you. You have the power of reincarnation, so absorb this power. Leave the rest to me." "Okay." Lin Xian nodded. He didn't expect it to be so simple. He was originally hoping to find the power of reincarnation. Now that there was one for free, how could he not want it? Then, he sat there cross-legged and began to absorb the power of reincarnation. His heavenly secret divine eyes shone brightly and turned into a reincarnation vortex. The entire reincarnation mountain in front of him kept shaking, and the power of reincarnation quickly swept out. This was a very slow process. During this time, they also came over. Lin Xian said, "Sorry, everyone, I can't leave for a while. Why don't you go and complete your mission first?" "Okay, then we'll go first. If you're in any danger, just tell us. We'll come." Nero said a few words and then left. This place became quiet once again. This time, the absorption lasted for 5 years. Lin Xian felt that his eyes had an extremely strange change. Especially her right eye, it was even more terrifying and mysterious. It even formed a mountain with runes. It was very similar to the mountain in front of him. In the end, his right eye seemed to be saturated and could no longer absorb. Lin Xian sighed and stood up. With his current strength, this was probably the best he could do. Is it enough? Lin Xian stood up and looked forward. In the past 5 years, Little White had been with Sun Chitian. It even took out spirit fruits from time to time and shared them with Sun Chitian. At this moment, when it saw Lin Xian, it jumped happily on Lin Xian's shoulder and asked. Lin Xian said that it was about time. He looked at Sun Chitian. "What do you think?" Sun Chitian said, I feel that the power of reincarnation has decreased a lot. I'll give it a try. His body emitted an incomparable light. Then, he wanted to stand up. The entire mountain shook non-stop, and the chains around it made a rumbling sound. His body was like a dragon, and he was about to leave. However, at this moment, the power of the mountain burst out again and pressed him to the ground. Endless pressure spread and the mountain shattered. Sun Qitian let out a crazy roar. Still not enough. Lin Xian furrowed his brows when he saw this scene. It seemed that the power of reincarnation was not the only thing here. The power of the entire mountain and the chains was definitely enough to make anyone despair. Only Sun Qitian was miraculous. If it were another great sage, they would have died hundreds of times. Damn it, I can't accept this. Sun Qitian roared to the sky. It had been 2,000 years. Since he was born, he had been longing for freedom. However, for the past 2,000 years, he could only be suppressed here. Now that the power of reincarnation had weakened to this extent, he still couldn't leave. Lin Xian walked up and said, "Brother Monkey, it seems that I have to help you again." He took a deep breath and summoned the great dragon sword soul. Then, he crazily activated the power of the sword world. Slash! This slash took the fortune of heaven and earth and turned it into the eternity of time. Even Sun Qitian was shocked. He could not imagine that the human in front of him could unleash such a terrifying slash. But soon, he smiled. With this slash, he definitely had hope of escaping. Lin Xian's slash landed on the mountain peak. The heavens swayed and the earth swayed. The mountain peak collapsed, a great crack opened up. The chains around also shook uneasily, as if they were about to collapse. Sun Qitian roared to the sky, "Brother Lin, stay away. I want to go out." Chapter 50:12. Boom. 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 The entire place changed as if it was the end of the world. Lin Xian quickly retreated with Whitey. He could feel that his body was about to split apart. The power in front was too terrifying. Lin Xian retreated far away. Sun Qitian said, "Not enough. Brother Lin, little brother, push further." Lin Xian retreated again. At the same time, she took out some elixirs to recover. This time, it should be enough. Sun Qitian did not say anything. Instead, he roared and thousands of lightning bolts fell from the sky. The sky and earth in front of him shook, and the black mountain once again rose to the north, and the chains around it tightened. Sun Qitian's body shone brightly as if he was about to walk out of the suppressed mountain. The mountain and the chains formed a terrifying light to block him. However, the mountain had been through 5 years. Lin Xian had absorbed an endless amount of reincarnation energy. In addition, it was split apart by the great dragon sword spirit. It no longer had its previous power. Many of the mysterious runes on it were shattered. Hence, it could no longer be suppressed. Sun Qitian's roar shook the entire second level of hell. Those who were training in the second level all raised their heads and looked into the distance in fear. What was that? Whose roar was that? There were some powerful existences on the second level who had looks of horror on their faces. Could it be that that guy was about to come out? They knew that the second level suppressed an extremely terrifying being. However, that guy would never be able to come out. Now, something unexpected was happening. Damn! Was the seal really going to be broken? The Hellfire Dragon sword circled around Lin Xian in shock. He asked, "Kid, do you know what kind of being you released?" Lin Xian asked, "What do you know?" Do you know Sun Qitian's true identity? Lin Xian's eyes lit up. If you know, tell me. I can reduce the years. The Hellfire Dragon Sword's eyes lit up. However, he shook his head. I really don't know. He only knew that he had been suppressed here for more than 2,000 years. In fact, he had been suppressed even earlier. However, at that time, it was still a stone. It could be said that it was just a stone without any signs of life. That was why he had no memories of it. 2,000 years ago, he jumped out of the stone and turned into a monkey. Only then did he have life. Lin Xian was shocked by Sun Qitian's extraordinary background. He asked, "Are you sure it's a rock and not a divine crystal?" He knew that the Dragon Prince had been sealed by the divine crystal. It was very likely that Sun Qitian had the same experience. Who was it? He dared to suppress an existence with such a heaven-defying bloodline. Even the Hellfire Dragon didn't know this, because this guy was also suppressed by someone. Boom! The intense rumbling sounds were still ringing out in front of him, and the entire sky was shattered. Sun Qitian's angry shouts could be heard from time to time. With a loud bang, a golden light tore through the 9 heavens and appeared in the 9 heavens. Sun Qitian looked up to the sky and laughed. Ha 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 ha, I, old sun, am finally out. It's already 2,000 years. I, old sun, will definitely kill my way up to the 9 heavens and tear that mastermind of yours into pieces. As he spoke, he took out a large iron staff and swept it in all directions, blasting the sky full of chains and the black mountain peak into flat ground. Kill! 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 Sun Qitian roared, his killing intent shocking. The living beings in the second level were so scared that they prostrated themselves on the ground. This aura was too terrifying. Even Lin Xian felt a shocking power that seemed to be suppressing him. This scene shocked Lin Xian, because at this moment, he felt like he was facing the Dragon Prince and Kunpengzi. Lin Xian felt that the other party was very likely to be an emperor. Of course, this was just his guess. He had to ask Sun Qitian for the details. Suddenly, a vortex appeared in the sky, followed by a huge hand that covered the sky, descending from the sky. There was a mysterious rune on the palm, and from afar, it looked like a black lotus. Suppress. A loud voice rang out, like the roar of a god. As soon as this huge palm appeared, the entire 18 levels of hell shook violently, so much so that those in the underworld were alarmed. What's going on? Is someone attacking the 18 levels of hell by force? This power seemed to have surpassed everything. Countless people were shocked, and those ancient beings all flew to the 9 heavens to take a look. It's not targeting us, but the 18 levels of hell. What's inside? Could it be that something happened to those who were sealed and suppressed? The 18 levels of hell were very mysterious and ancient. Many great emperors had appeared here before and set up some traps. There were some existences suppressed on each level of the 18 levels of hell. These people either had shocking origins or were extremely powerful, but they were all suppressed here. Some had been suppressed to death, while some were still alive and in a deep sleep. At this moment, a huge hand that covered the sky appeared in the 18 levels of hell. It was hard to imagine. Who was it targeting? Sun Qitian roared angrily. He roared into the sky, and the huge iron staff directly attacked the 9 heavens. It collided with the huge hand. With a loud bang, he flew back while vomiting blood. His body was shattered. He had no choice. Although he was powerful, the huge hand that covered the sky was too terrifying. It seemed to have surpassed everything, just like the palm of a great emperor. Not good, a supreme power. The Hellfire Dragon Sword was so scared that its scalp went numb. Kid, you're looking for trouble. The monkey that you released probably has a powerful background and is being targeted. Hurry up and run. Little White was also very nervous. He was also a monkey, and so was Sun Chitian. He naturally hoped that Sun Chitian could be free. Lin Xian's eyes instantly turned red. He didn't recognize the huge hand, but how could he not recognize the black lotus in the palm? That was the red spider lily. It was the existence that sealed him. Damn it. This palm had the red spider lily. Who was it? Was it someone from the Purple Mansion? Someone from the Purple Mansion sealed Sun Chitian. Lin Xian wasn't sure, because he felt that the Purple Mansion didn't have such a terrifying existence. Otherwise, when he and Heishan attacked the Purple Mansion, they would have been slapped to death by such a huge tree. Damn it, he couldn't figure it out now, but it definitely had something to do with the red spider lily. Maybe the one who suppressed Sun Chitian and sealed him was the same person. Brother Monkey. Retreat quickly. Lin Xian roared. Sun Chitian roared. His eyes were red. Damn it, I'm already out. I won't be suppressed anymore. He swung his iron staff again and attacked, but he was quickly pushed back again. Lin Xian took a deep breath and used Shadowless Heaven's net to rush forward. Kid, are you crazy? The Hellfire Dragon Sword's scalp went numb. Little White also cried out anxiously. At the same time, he was also worried about Lin Xian's safety. Lin Xian kept the two of them. His eyes were red, and he instantly came to Sun Chitian's side. He grabbed his shoulder. Brother Monkey, where there's life, there's hope. This palm is too terrifying. We can't fight against it now. Let's go. Run. He brought Sun Chitian and flew far away. Sun Chitian gritted his teeth. One day, I will kill my way to the 9 heavens and tear all of you into pieces. As he spoke, he turned and left. How could the huge hand let the two of them leave? Chapter 50-13. After one strike, Sun Chitian's body split open again, and cracks also appeared on Lin Xian's body. Golden Saint blood dyed the 9 heavens red. Follow me, he directly activated the sword world. He brought Sun Chitian in. At the same time, he used the heaven-swallowing jar to devour everything. The huge hand that covered the sky descended and slapped the heaven-swallowing jar, sending it flying. The entire second level of hell was torn apart, and endless cracks appeared. The people on the second level quickly fled, and some of them were directly smashed into a bloody mist. The palm did not disappear. It was raised again, as if it was unwilling to give up and was still searching. At this time, crazy roars came from the lower levels of the 18th level of hell. There was even a sigh of an old man. If I don't enter hell, who will? A ray of golden light flew out and turned into a golden lotus, clashing with the black lotus. It seemed to be able to purify everything. The huge hand that covered the sky slowly disappeared and disappeared. The entire second level of hell finally quieted down. The creatures on the second level of hell were also terrified, like Nero and the others, their bodies were trembling. What happened? Was it related to Lin Xian saving that monkey? They didn't know. It was safe. Inside the sword world, Lin Xian sensed the situation outside, and after realizing that the huge hand that covered the sky had left, he heaved a sigh of relief. The monkey also gritted his teeth. Damn it, he was almost suppressed again. He looked at Lin Xian and said, Brother Lin, if not for you, I would be in danger this time. I am willing to become sworn brothers with you, are you willing? Of course I am. Lin Xian nodded. Good. Sun Chitian also laughed. Lin Xian was very much to his liking, and he had even saved him before, so he naturally hoped to have such a brother. Next, the two of them became sworn brothers. Sun Qitian was older, so Lin Xian called him Brother Monkey. Brother Monkey, where did you come from? Don't you have any memories at all? And what kind of person is your father? What is your own bloodline like? Lin Xian asked a series of questions. He was very curious about all of them. Sun Qitian shook his head. I don't remember, because I have been sealed for too long, my soul is somewhat damaged, I can't remember many things. That's why I can't remember a lot of things. I only know that I have to take revenge. Lin Xian said, I also know a bit about your enemy. The hand that hit you just now had a black lotus on it. He had once sealed me as well. Later on, he learned that it was called the red spider lily. It was an extremely terrifying existence. The only sect that used the red spider lily as a totem was the Purple Mansion sect. As for whether there were other sects, it was unknown for the time being. But now that he thought about it, it definitely had something to do with the Purple Mansion. Red Spider Lily, Purple Palace. Sun Qitian's eyes flickered. I know. After I leave hell, I won't let these people go. Brother Monkey, I know that you are eager to take revenge, but the Zifu realm is also a supreme existence, they are very mysterious. If you want to take revenge, you can't act rashly. It's best if you increase your strength first. Brother Lin, don't worry. Now that I'm free, I won't be added to them again. By the way, where do you plan to go next? Was he going to leave hell directly? Lin Xian asked. Sun Qitian replied, No, I'm going to the third level of the underworld. You want to go to the third level? Lin Xian was stunned. The second level was already so dangerous, so the third level should be even more terrifying. Sun Qitian said, Brother Lin, you have a lot of trump cards, you can even dodge the heaven-covering hand. Although the third level is a bit dangerous for you, it definitely won't take your life. Maybe it can help you increase your strength again. Alright, Lin Xian was also a bold person, so after thinking for a moment, he immediately agreed. The two of them walked out of the sword world. Lin Xian kept the heaven-swallowing jar and prepared to leave. At this time, someone flew over from afar. Lin Wudi, it's really you. You didn't die, that's great. Lin Xian turned his head and saw that it was Nai Luo and the others. Are you guys hurt? Lin Xian asked. Nai Luo said, the hand that covered the sky was very far away from us. We only received a little impact and were not injured. Right, what was that big hand? Also, did you save the person you wanted to save? You're talking about me, right? Sun Qitian walked out. Nai Luo and the others immediately held their breaths. They felt a huge pressure. It was as if the person standing in front of them was an extremely terrifying ancient demon god. You really managed to save it. They were too shocked. One must know that when Sun Qitian was suppressed, a single iron rod was enough to sweep across all directions. Now that he was rescued, how terrifying was his strength. Also, why did that heaven-covering hand suddenly appear? One must know that although the infernal realm was terrifying, such a thing had never happened before. Could it be that it had something to do with the monkey in front of them? All of this was a mystery to them. However, Lin Xian laughed. You don't have to worry, Brother Monkey is my brother, he won't hurt you. Brother. Nai Luo and the others were surprised. Didn't they not know each other before? How did they become good brothers in just a few years? Of course, Lin Xian did not explain. Instead, he said that Brother Monkey and I are going to the third level of hell. Do you want to go with us? With Brother He here, there shouldn't be a problem. The third level. Luo and the others were shocked. Then, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Wudi, do you know that the second level is already very dangerous? The third level is probably even scarier. A great sage in the early stage would be in danger of dying there. Even a great sage in the middle stage wouldn't be able to sweep through everything. They would be on their guard there. Lin Xian nodded. He said, I know, but the second level has already been destroyed by that heaven-covering hand. It won't be able to recover in a short period of time, and we won't be able to find anything good here. So, I'm going to take a look at the third level. Second brother, a bunch of cowards, what are you talking to them about? Sun Qitian said with a frown. Luo was angry. He snorted. Who are you calling cowards? Although we're not as strong as you, it doesn't mean that we're cowards. The other members of the illusionary flowers, Water Moon, discussed and decided to go to the third level of hell. They had wanted to go for a long time, but they were not strong enough and hesitated. Now that they had Lin Xian and such a scary monkey to lead them, they decided to give it a try. Good, your courage is not bad. Sun Qitian smiled. Then, he waved his hand and said, follow me. The group of people walked towards the passage to the third level. There were even fewer people here. There were even fewer people in the third level than the second level, but every one of them was a top expert. Moreover, the third level was a very special place. There were many tombs here. There were even some ancient and primordial experts buried here. Therefore, in theory, there were endless treasures here, which attracted a group of adventurers. Chapter 50:14. The group passed through the passage and entered the third level of hell. It was even colder here. After arriving, Nero and the rest kept shivering. Even Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. He felt as if his body was about to freeze. No wonder Nero and the rest didn't dare to come. The great sage was in the middle stage and could only survive here. If one wanted to dominate here, one would need more power. The only one who wasn't affected was Sun Qitian. His body shone brightly, and the cold aura couldn't get close to him. This place was extremely unusual. There were some ancient tombs that shouldn't be approached easily. You might be killed by the array or the mysterious existence inside. Lin Xian and the others were shocked and they heard this. Nero was puzzled. Weren't you suppressed before? How did you know about the third level? Even Lin Xian was surprised. Sun Qitian said, I have the martial Dao heavenly eye. Although I'm suppressed, I can still see through everything. When I'm free, I'll use the martial Dao heavenly eye to look at the third level. Can't I? Lin Xian was even more shocked. Sun Qitian's bloodline was too powerful. The martial Dao heavenly eye didn't sound weaker than the Tianji divine eyes. It was even more powerful. It could see through a level of hell. Sun Qitian seemed to have guessed what Lin Xian was thinking. He smiled and said, Second brother, there's no need to be envious. If you can really cultivate the Rinnegan, you can take the entire 18 levels of hell. The Rinnegan. Nero and the rest were also shocked. That was the legendary Supreme Eye. At a glance, it was amazing. Could someone really cultivate the Rinnegan? Lin Xian also took a deep breath. He was also looking forward to it. Moreover, his right eye had also changed. The eye condensed the power of reincarnation and could form a reincarnation mountain. He wondered what kind of power it would have. The group set off. They didn't dare to take some of the terrifying tombs. However, they wouldn't miss the ordinary tombs because these places were the source of treasures. After walking for about half a day, they found another group in front of them. There were about 10 people. His aura was incomparably powerful, much more powerful than the entire group. The team naturally saw Lin Xian as well, and they immediately stopped. The illusionary flower, reflected moon. Nero, you actually came as well. A surprised voice was heard. Nero turned around and said, so it's you. The man who stole was called Meng Yi. They belonged to Meng Pa. Meng Yi said, Nai Luo, with your strength, you don't have the qualifications to come here. Nero rolled her eyes at him. It's none of your business. Can't I come with an expert? Expert? Meng Yi was taken aback. Then, he looked at the people beside Nero. When he saw Sun Qitian, his pupils shrank. He felt a huge pressure from this person. This should be the expert that Meng Luo had mentioned. As for Lin Xian, he completely ignored him because Lin Xian's cultivation was the weakest among them. He was even weaker than the great sage. How could such a person dare to come here? Although you have experts, it's still too dangerous. Why don't you let them follow us? Meng Ye suggested. What do you think? Nero looked at Sun Qitian and Lin Xian and asked for their opinions. Lin Xian said, all right. They had just arrived and weren't too sure. It was naturally better to have someone to lead the way. Sun Qitian said, I don't have any objections if we join forces. But when it comes to snatching treasures, we'll have to rely on our own means. Don't expect me to go easy on you. His tone was cold. This made Meng Po's people frown slightly. Meng Yi said, oh, is that so? Then this condition couldn't be better. Although Sun Qitian was an expert, Meng Yi and the others weren't afraid of him. Even if there were treasures, they would probably have more to gain. Then, the two sides joined forces. This time, there were more than 20 people. In this place, they could be considered to be quite a big team. As they continued to walk deeper into the third level, they saw more people. Some people retreated when they saw more than 20 people together. They were afraid that they would be besieged. After all, not only were there treasure hunters here, there were also people who wanted to kill and steal. It seemed more convenient. After walking for half a day, a mountain peak appeared in front of them. The mountain peak was an independent existence. It was surrounded by plains. It just stood there like that, which was very strange. However, Sun Qitian's eyes lit up. This place was not ordinary. There might be a mausoleum. Meng Yi and the others also narrowed their eyes. That was indeed the case. Generally, what was buried here was the terrain. It was very strange. Only experts could see through the mystery. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked forward. Although there was only one mountain peak, its aura was incomparably majestic and spectacular. It was as if it was going to tear the world apart. Let's go and take a look. The group walked forward. When they got closer, they found that there was already a battle around the mountain peak. Two groups of people were fighting. It turned out that there was a cave residence under the mountain peak. There were rays of light constantly flickering inside. Seeing this scene, Sun Qitian laughed loudly. Second brother, let's go. As he said that, he rushed forward. Lin Xian smiled bitterly. However, he could imagine that after being suppressed for 2,000 years since he was born, he was now free. Seeing these battles, he was naturally happy. Meng Yi and the others were shocked. Was this monkey really so powerful? They did not think so. Because the battle in front was very terrifying. When the people in front felt that there was a third party coming, they also frowned. Suddenly, they were shocked to see a lightning-like figure rushing over and directly killing his way into the cave residence. Then, he stretched out a monkey's paw and directly grabbed one of the treasure boxes. Not only that, the monkey was unwilling to give up and grabbed another 2 treasure boxes. This made the eyes of both sides turn red. They fought with their lives but did not succeed. Now, someone came to share the fruits of their victory. Go to hell. Both sides stopped fighting and attacked Sun Chitian at the same time. Sigh, this guy is too reckless. Meng Po's people sighed. Even an expert could not be so arrogant. Which one of those who could come to the 3rd level was weak? Let's see if you have the capital to be arrogant. Meng Yi also narrowed his eyes. Lin Xian was not worried at all. He was very clear about Sun Chitian's strength. He was an existence that dared to compete with the heavens. Nero and the others also had strange expressions. Sun Chitian could kill 2 blood-red bats with a single iron rod. Now that he was completely free, how terrifying was he? To be honest, they were very curious. At the same time, they were also worried for the people in front. Chapter 50-15. Go to hell. Someone slapped out a blood-red seal that could shake heaven and earth. The people on the other side transformed into terrifying phantoms of demon gods, looking down at the sky. The terrifying aura seemed to be about to destroy the world as they charged towards Sun Chitian. Sun Chitian shouted angrily, "You want to fight against me? Go to hell." With a wave of his hand, an iron staff shone brightly and swept toward the front. It carried an eternal light. Boom! The iron staff fell, the sky shattered, and the blood sea surged. The phantoms of demon gods and the blood god seal were shattered. The people on both sides also vomited blood and flew backward. The 5 people at the front directly split open and turned into a blood mist. So powerful. Meng Yi and Meng Po's people behind were all stunned. This attack was so powerful. This monkey is a bit too powerful. The pupils of Nero and the others shrank. Sure enough, it was more powerful than they imagined. The people on both sides in front were angry. Kill! They rushed over again, wanting to take revenge. Sun Chitian shouted coldly, "You still don't know what's good for you. I'll fulfill your wishes." An even more terrifying light burst out from his body. He held the iron staff with both hands and swept everything away. The whole sky was split open, the earth was shattered, and everything in the world turned into chaos. The people who attacked him were all smashed into a blood mist. With a sweep of the iron staff, he was invincible. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 masters of the great sage had fallen. The rest of the people became extremely terrified. He's too powerful, and it's difficult to fight against him. What kind of existence is he? Run, 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 the remaining people all ran away. In the process, Sun Chitian killed another 3 masters. The rest of the people fled with serious injuries and no longer dared to fight. For a moment, only Sun Chitian was left in the cave. Sun Chitian shouted coldly, and the iron staff formation was directly torn open. A group of ants, how dare you fight with me? It's too terrifying. Meng Yi and the others' scalps went numb, and Nero and the others also turned pale. Lin Xian flew over and said, "Brother Monkey, well done." Little White also applauded, "Yeah, you're so powerful. You're indeed a member of the monkey clan. Little one, do you want to learn a peerless supernatural power? I'll teach you." Sun Chitian looked at Whitey and burst out laughing. When the others heard this, they were extremely envious. However, Little White thought about it seriously and said, "No, fighting and killing is too boring. You little brat, with your bloodline, even if you don't learn these divine abilities, no one can threaten you." Sun Chitian smiled. Then, he looked at Lin Xian and said, "Let's go in and take a look." Lin Xian nodded, and the two of them entered the cave. There was a profound coffin inside. Other than that, there were also some weapons, pills, and scrolls placed around the room. As for the weapons and scrolls, Sun Chitian directly ignored them. He didn't need them. His iron cudgel could sweep through everything, and peerless cultivation techniques were within his bloodline inheritance. Therefore, he was only interested in medicinal pills and natural treasures. Then, he put away all the pills. He stared at the blood coffin. Second brother, quickly put away the other things. I want to open the coffin. Upon hearing this, Lin Xian was also taken aback. With a wave of his hand, he kept everything else. His eyes flickered, and his heavenly secret divine eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. He frowned, "Brother Monkey, be careful. I feel that the person inside is still breathing. Don't worry." Sun Chitian waved his iron cudgel and opened the blood coffin. Outside, Meng Yi, Nai Luo, and the others were shocked. They had just arrived, and before they could say anything, they saw the coffin open. An extremely terrifying murderous aura flew out from the coffin. Meng Yi exclaimed, "Oh no, the person is still alive. Impossible, how many years has it been in this coffin? It should have turned into a zombie." In short, the other party was a great threat to them. A figure jumped out from the coffin. Its body was rotten, and it looked very ferocious. "How dare you disturb my cultivation? Go to hell." A pair of big hands grabbed at Lin Xian and Sun Chitian because they were the closest to it. "Second brother, be careful." Sun Chitian roared and smashed his iron cudgel over. It collided with the other party's claws, and an earth-shattering sound was heard. Endless flames pierced through the 9 heavens. The pair of claws that were comparable to divine iron were broken in an instant. The bloody figure let out a painful roar and stared at Sun Chitian. He did not expect the other party to be so powerful. "That iron cudgel is a divine weapon. It's mine." A shocking light burst out from his eyes. Sun Chitian snorted coldly, "How dare you covet my weapon? You're courting death." He attacked again, and the iron cudgel danced, shattering the heavens. The bloody zombie roared crazily and fought with him. At the same time, the other hand, which was like divine metal, grabbed at Lin Xian. Lin Xian retreated and formed a seal with his palms. The seal of the lion. With a single strike, the golden lion blocked the palm of the other party with overwhelming might. He retreated and crushed the ground. So scary. Lin Xian was surprised. As expected of the 3rd floor, the people here were really terrifying. They were even more terrifying than the average mid-stage great sage. He was shocked, but the bloody zombie was even more shocked. It was fine if Sun Chitian was powerful. After all, he had a divine weapon in his hand and an extraordinary bloodline. He could feel a terrifying power. However, how could this kid in front of him compete with him? Although he was pushed back, the other party was not injured. This kid seemed to be just a sage king. He was not even a great sage. His physique is already so strong. What kind of monster is he? What kind of changes have happened in the outside world during the years I was cultivating and sleeping? It was hard for him to imagine that a sage king was so terrifying. Boom! His arm attacked again. Lin Xian used the seal of the lion and shadowless heaven's net to resist it. Although he had been suppressed and was at a disadvantage, it was shocking enough. Oh no, Nero, who was outside, was stunned. Meng Yi and the others were even more shocked. To be honest, among these people, they ignored Lin Xian the most. In their opinion, Lin Xian should have just followed the monkey here. His strength was not worth mentioning at all. But now, they realized that they were wrong, and very wrong. This kid was a top genius. Lin Xian was the best explanation of what it meant to be a genius. He had the weakest cultivation, but he could exert the strongest power. This guy was comparable to a young great emperor. Countless people were shocked. The bloody zombie was even more furious. It was fine if it couldn't take down a monkey. But it couldn't even take down a human ant. Damn it. An endless bloody vortex suddenly appeared on its bloody palm. It turned into a bloody dragon, roaring ferociously and charging over. Oh no, it's a fatal blow. Nero, Mengyi, and the others were terrified. They were worried about Lin Xian again. Lin Xian was already very strong to be able to survive until now. But if he didn't have any other trump cards, it would be difficult to resist this move. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.